pro-Palestinian activists on board. Most of them, including Swedish climate campaigner Greta Thunberg, were detained and later deported, but 138 remain in detention. South African activists who were also part of those detained arrived from Jordan today. Recapping the top story, the Judicial Service Commission will recommend 5 out of 6 names interviewed for 2 vacancies at the Constitutional Court to President Cyril Ramaphosa. I'm on Delambana for SFM News Headlines at 3:30.
In sports this hour, Amajita target quarterfinals for Under-20 World Cup, a box hit defining moment on road to 2027 Rugby World Cup, and Sunshine Tour champions and young stars gather for Limpopo Championship. More details at 3:30.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
EFC is live this Thursday. The man of the people, Billy Wisstason,
if you're inside here and you give up, then you're not supposed to be inside here.
steps up to challenge the Zambian champion, Ken Sekeletu, for his interim EFC featherweight title.
This is the moment I've been waiting for. This is the moment I've been training for. And this is the moment where I came to South Africa.
EFC 128, live from the world's sports betting arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Spring is in the air, meaning it's almost time for the 10th SA Garden Day on Sunday, the 12th of October. Celebrate the day with a garden party, lunch under the trees, or cake at a community garden, and invite your friends, family, or neighbors to enjoy your garden with you. Visit gardenday.co.za for inspiration and share pictures of your celebration on social media with #GardenDaySA. SA Garden Day, Sunday, the 12th of October.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Certainly, well, there's been like 3 significant bits of conversation over the last few hours today with people I've engaged with. One is the issue of the education assistance not being paid, and there was this press briefing today, and I understand there's a solution that will kick in today. So that's the one thing. The other has been the arrival of the South Africans who were on the way as part of that humanitarian flotilla and then stopped in Israel and then sent back, detained, then sent backpacking. They've arrived in South Africa today. That certainly has captured the imagination, as has been the ongoing issue into the Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption. Now, as we did yesterday, we're going to pick up on that. Today is very much a case of Q&A with Mkhwanazi effectively responding to questions from members of Parliament. So we're going to get to that in a moment. But before that, remember this now. Machabeng is building South Africa's next energy-led industrial future. So join us for the Machabeng Investment Summit, the 16th and the 17th of October in Belcom. That's next week, right? Where opportunity meets innovation. From gas and green energy to logistics, agro-processing and advanced manufacturing. Discover how you can invest in a special economic zone built by major energy projects, solar power and world-class infrastructure. Fast-track your investment, power your growth, be part of the future, and get to the website as well. You can register, and that's machabeng.co.za. Powered by energy, driven by vision.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, so certainly for the better part of the first hour of the show, we will dip into Parliament and that parliamentary ad hoc committee investigating police corruption. As per yesterday, Lieutenant Mkhwanazi responding to many questions from that ad hoc committee. So let's get to that right away.
In the service, that I'm not going to join the police station to go and be a court orderly. No, that's not what I want. I want to be there on the ground and deal with action.
Then you went to the college, and then from the college?
I trained in Pretoria College, and from there I went to Port Shepstone, the Public Order Police Unit in Port Shepstone. At the time, you couldn't choose where to go. The only option was to become a detective or you become a uniform branch. And because I wanted to be on the field, they said to me, then the highly trained unit that you must go to is internal stability unit. Maybe that's the right word to use at the time. In June 1993, when I joined, it was called Internal Stability Unit, but it then later changed the name to Public Order Police.
And then how do you arrive at the task force?
I became aware of the special task force. When I joined the police, the Internal Stability Unit used to wear camouflage. The camouflage I was wearing on the 6th of July. When the amalgamation happened and the camouflage was stopped from POP, it was directed that POP must be issued with the uniform that the shirt looks the same as pants. It was introduced there, that shirt. Usually it used to be a light blue shirt and a gray pants. But POP was introduced with the same type of color and to stop wearing camouflage. So we did not wear camouflage. And then an unfortunate incident happened in the area called Shobashoban in Potchefstroom, where the African National Congress had won the elections in 1994. And the few members of the IFP, few members of the ANC that are located within the village of IFP started celebrating that victory. They erected their flag, the ANC flag, to celebrate the victory of the African National Congress. And I happened to be there and I warned them. I said, you are calling for trouble. You are in the middle of the ocean. You are an island. You can't be raising up this flag and celebrating, whereas your neighbors are not happy with the fact that they were defeated. And then it so happened that shortly after that, those people were attacked by IFP. They were killed. And after the murder happened, the leadership of the police brought the investigation team from the national office to come to Potchefstroom. And that investigation team was accompanied by task force. So it was the first time I see people in camouflage that we are no longer wearing. So when I saw them there, and I asked them, but who are you? Because we don't wear this uniform anymore. Then they said, no, they are special task force. So I asked them, what do you do as special task force? They started explaining to me. That's how I first learned about the task force. So it was exciting for me because I always wanted to be in such an environment and I never knew about it. And fast forward, I took a transfer to Durban. When I arrived in Durban, the current command of the task force in Durban, Colonel Nyao, was there, the unit, and I saw him. And I engaged with him and he said, no, they recently decentralized the task force to Durban. And then he gave me the video of what the task force does. I went to see it and I watched the video and I realized, okay, no, this is troublesome. And then I was excited and I joined it.
So it's safe, it's safe for me to call you a career policeman.
Yeah, well, we can call me that I've been pursuing different areas in the police all my life until now.
Are you aware of something called deployment cadres?
No, we don't do that in the police. We don't use the cadres names.
No, I'm saying, are you aware of policy of a deployment cadres?
I always hear from the ruling party talking about deployment cadres.
You are not a product of a deployment cadre policy. You are a career policeman.
Yeah, no, I'm a career policeman, unfortunately.
Those deployed cadres that came into SAPS who had no career in the police. Some claim to fame, they're from exile, they were underground, they were this, they were that. Do you think they helped to improve the policing in this country, or they deteriorated to where we find it today?
Yeah, I think the latter part is more appropriate. I think with this amalgamation and the presence of people who did not grow up in the police, the first thing that I think created a problem was to undermine the discipline culture of the police. That we don't use that culture. The word comrade was introduced at the time. With the police officers, a constable started calling it a captain comrade, which was foreign to the police. So the moment they started addressing each other like that, it just made the situation worse. The situation became worse after the ANC Polokwane conference in 2007. Because while you were there in a conference, when the former deputy president, who became a president later, was fired. That's where we started seeing the real division, because he gets fired and the police that's supposed to protect him, the former deputy president at the time, started not getting favors or support from their commanders in Pretoria. And the former president will travel with his members in an armored vehicle where the windows don't open in a 35 degrees heat, and the aircon won't be working. And they will be traveling London bread of KZN, and they will be calling their commanders for a better vehicle, and they will be told that man is not a president, so he must drive in that heat. So the members started experiencing that. So the members within that space started getting conditioned into politics themselves, because then they favor this one, who's now not treated bad. Fast forward to that, we then have a conference in Polokwane, the police management goes there, but they don't go there to police the African National Congress conference. They are going there to erect their own marquee tent on the side with alcohol and everything else to celebrate the victory that was coming. And the unfortunate part happened is that the deputy president was fired, won that election in Polokwane. And the return of the leadership back to Pretoria changed everything in the police, because we started getting a recruitment to join political parties within the police premises in Pretoria, within the protection services in the main. The division of the police got affected the most is the PSS that protects the VIPs. The members were recruited to join COPE as a political party by police generals in the police premises. So that was just the beginning of the downfall of what followed thereafter. So you then start hearing senior officers in the police started calling comrades, comrade. And it became the terminology used throughout. And yeah, I think that amalgamation and the presence of the people that regarded themselves as politicians was the downfall of the discipline of the organization.
And that road went even worse in the crime intelligence.
Yeah, well, the members of crime intelligence might not necessarily have been politicians per se that are involved in the road, but the leadership that arrived at crime intelligence were comrades. As I said earlier, you arrive in, you are an executive member, you're a senior member, you find people know the system inside who are junior, and they capture you. They manipulate you. They make you live a comfortable life, and you are happy with that, but you don't pay attention on what they are doing in the bottom. So that's exactly what happened there. Yes, the leadership might have been from the political party coming to crime intelligence, but their intention was not the bad intentions. But when they arrived, they found these resources within crime intelligence that make available to them. And they took those resources and these resources made their life comfortable. And it just became a culture, without realizing that these members that are making this life comfortable, they are actually causing more damage internal. So when these leadership are moving, and anyone that comes as the leader, they want to capture the person. And this one goes, and the other one comes in, they want to capture. It became a culture. And I must say, the culture that developed might not necessarily be a political culture, but the greed and members within the service, they started getting involved in business and started getting interested in money. They might not necessarily be politicians themselves. They were pure police officers. But because they knew how the system works, and they saw these sinners that don't know the system, and then they started manipulating it. So both ways, then you could blame the senior police officers, although junior, as well as those ones that came from outside the organization.
But in the body of, I hear the leadership, in the body of the crime intelligence, were there no cadres who were claiming to come from Bokoto, in the ANC underground intelligence and all of that, who joined the intelligence, not as leadership, but as operatives?
Yeah,
who now get involved in these covert operations, but they don't have necessarily the skill or qualifications as career policemen.
Sure, there's a lot of them that arrive like that. There was a lot of them. We've had a system that we're trying to work with in the police of the former non-statutory force members. that needed to be rewarded in some degree within the service that were employed in. So they arrive at different levels. Some of them were constables, sergeants, and up the ranks. The others that came on a senior level, but others grew within the service.
So how do you become now the acting national commissioner?
I don't know whether I should thank my grandmother, wherever she is, because I was sleeping, and I was going to wake up in the next morning to travel with the National Commission of Police to visit Mpumalanga province. When I get a phone call from the General Dladla, who was in charge of the presidential team, and he says to me that the minister wants to see me in the morning. I did not know the reason for that call. I then had to phone the chief of staff at the office, actually spokesperson of the Minister of Police at the time, who was a spokesperson. That general was a spokesperson of the National Commission, Gerald Cele, because he was the National Commissioner of the Police. I phoned her and I told her, say, we're supposed to be traveling in the morning with a police jet to Mpumalanga. I've been called by the minister, so I'm no longer traveling. I don't know what he wants. But ordinarily, because I'm from the Special Task Force at the time, and I'm in charge of the component that deals with Special Task Force and all these high-risk operations, from time to time, if the presidential team have got some risks that they've identified somewhere, they always call on us to come and provide that technical support on them. I thought maybe there's something that might be a threat, either with the president, team, or somewhere that the minister wanted to talk about. I arrive in his house and he says to me, the president wanted to see me, so I must go and meet the president. I went to the president and the president says, I've now taken a decision to appoint you as acting national commissioner because we are suspending Gerald Cele based on that procurement of that building in Pretoria. So it came as a shock. And that was that. That's how I was appointed.
Who's the president at that time?
President Zuma.
Who's the minister?
Minister Mteto, Nathi Mteto, the late.
And then how do you leave that position of acting?
Unceremoniously so, because I was frustrated with the role that the minister was playing over Mdluli over time. And I felt that I cannot be able to work within the political space in this fashion. If this is how the people operate, or occupying these positions supposed to interact with executive authority, I'm not willing to take instructions of this nature because they are not right. They are wrong. They are encroaching into the management responsibility of the police commission, of the national commissioner. Maybe I must talk about the experience that also I had learned prior to that. Mdluli is the only general in the South African Police Service that was ever appointed by the panel of ministers in the history since we started in 95 to date. I said the Act only allows a minister to appoint the national head, nobody else. But the Mdluli's post, panel, was presided over by the late Minister Mteto, and I don't know who are the panel members that were part of it. The person who was the acting national commissioner at the time, Commissioner Williams, was excluded from the process.
Okay, we'll pause for just a moment. I know you really want to hear all of this. We'll get back to it as soon as possible.
You could spend 10 minutes waiting for that video to download. Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. Like 48-year-old Felicity, who now pays a low 836 Rand a month for her 2020 Hyundai Tucson. With Outsurance, you get the legendary Out bonus that pays you a percentage of your premiums back if you're claim-free. SMS out to 30754. Make today the day you switch and get more out. After switching, 31-year-old Palisa now pays only 926 Rand a month for her 2024 Kia Sonet. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? Get a quote today. And if Outsurance can't beat what you're currently paying, you can ask for 500 Rand. Make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash, you have nothing to lose. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
This week on Off-Pitch Goals, former Orlando Pirates and Cape Town City attacking midfielder Mpoma Kola takes on the much sought-after coaching industry. He takes us through the strategy and patience required to thrive in this competitive industry. Tune in to SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus the Saturday 11 October at 8:30 p.m. Off-Pitch Goals, where we showcase how the stars score in business. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, back as soon as we can, which is right now, to Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption, as has been all day today and yesterday. Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi taking centre stage in this case here. And the questions are coming at this point in time mainly from Julius Malema of the EFF.
That's how the president decided he's going to bring someone, and then Jarpiaha came. And indeed, I were to sit at home for a year without doing anything.
Now, when the minister communicates to you not to continue with cases against Mdluli, how does he do that? Does he write a letter? Does he call a meeting? How does he communicate that? Please stop cases against Mdluli.
Yeah, he called me into a meeting in his residence, and it is in his residence where he was in company of the Inspector General of Intelligence, Advocate Khabde, the late, where he says to me that the advocate was telling him that I forced her, that she must recommend that Mdluli be charged. That's where we had a debate, because I did not force her. And I told the minister, if you want me to do what you say I must do, put it in black and white. And they did not want to put in black and white. Instead, he instructed Inspector General to put it in black and white, so that I use Inspector General's recommendations for me not to charge Mdluli. That is on a disciplinary part. But on the criminal part, it was not the minister directly, but it was Advocate Mkhwebi from the NPA. I hope the members have got Advocate Bredenbach, who's an MP here, who's a member of this committee. Perhaps she must come and sit here and talk to the ad hoc committee and explain what was her role on that case, because I understand that she was the one who was holding that criminal case against Mdluli, where she was instructed, from what I was told, to withdraw that case from court. That had already said. So why did she then comply with that instruction? I have no clue.
Now, when you communicate to the president that we're engaged in some illegal activity which I didn't sign up for, how do you communicate that to the president? Because the president would have ordinarily asked for something in a written form. What did they say to you? Or did you write to the president? How did you communicate this to the president, that there's something going on which is not up to what we are expected to do as police?
It is unfortunate that I did not write to him. I went there in person. So I had a one-on-one engagement with the president about it. And you're correct, Honourable Member, would have expected the president to conduct some investigation on this thing. But the president didn't. He simply said, okay, if you're having issues with the minister, just give me time, I'm going to appoint someone else to take over from you. And that was the end of the meeting.
And that's President Zuma we're talking about?
That's correct.
We did not do anything about this matter when you communicated to him that we have been invited into doing wrong things?
Yeah, no, they didn't do anything about it.
Now, why do they put you at home after releasing you? They went to fetch you from your position, ask you to come and act, and then when you say, I can't be part of a criminal syndicate, you are sent home. What do they communicate to you around that time? What is the reason of you staying at home?
Honourable members, when I had met with the minister, I called the entire top management of the SAPS and I told them what transpired in the minister's residence. And I told them that they must prepare themselves, that they are all going to be fired and they're going to be victimized, because whoever is going to come in, who is going to come with a mandate that perhaps will say they must get rid of everyone. Some of the senior managers took me serious, others did not take me serious. But because I was prepared for that, indeed that would happen. Maybe Gerald Pierre must come here and explain why she did not allocate me a post for that long. and allow me to sit at home and draw a salary every month. She will have to come and explain that because she was the boss. She's the one who's going to have to come and explain that despite my experience, as I've displayed here, that she will choose to appoint junior people to go and act in positions that they did not have much of experience of, whereas I'm sitting at home. There was a person who was a non-trained police officer. With respect, she joined the police and she's heading our training currently. She was deployed as a head of crime intelligence at one stage by Gerard Pierre.
Will I be correct that you were actually being punished for being disciplined?
I believe so. I believe so, Honorable Member, because it did not only end there. It was not only about sitting at home. It was sitting at home and state security, crime intelligence, deploy counterintelligence against Mkhwanazi, against Khumalo, against Masimolo. So we were not just kept at home, but we're being monitored 24/7.
General, you know, you speak interestingly about 2011, especially in relation to crime intelligence. What was happening in 2011? Because some of us for sure were very young, we can't remember properly. What was happening in 2011? Because you keep on referring to 2011, and we're trying to imagine what really happened in the crime intelligence in 2011, which you see it now and gives you those flashbacks of what happened in 2011.
I said, honorable members, I wouldn't want us to maybe go too deep back, but many things were pronounced, ventilated at the Zondo Commission about intelligence, things that were happening. I will invite you to go and read that report again. But at crime intelligence at the time, what was dominating the media space was the looting of the secret fund account in such a manner that it ended up getting a name.
Right, we'll break from the goings-on in Parliament just for the moment. As we get to the news headlines, here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says he's concerned about the safety of the crime intelligence team based in Gauteng that are investigating criminal syndicates. He has been testifying for the second day before Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into concerns about national security. 2 men have been shot dead in separate incidents and within a short space of time in the same area of Chatsworth, south of Durban. In the first incident, a local barber believed to be in his 40s was gunned down on Summerfield Road in Bayview. And the government says no ransom was paid for the release of South African Global Sumud Flotilla. They were taken into custody by Israeli forces while en route to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Pretoria, slow moving on the link to the R21 south. In Bedfordview, on the N3 northbound, a stationary vehicle after Van Buren Road, and the N12 R24 westbound, queuing on both routes towards Giluli's interchange. In KZN, on the N2 northbound, there's a crash reported at Mgeni Road. In Cape Town, the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. On the N2, slow moving traffic reported through Somerset West and Victoria Road outbound, slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, there's so many things on the go with the national cricket team, football team, rugby teams had their glory last week. Let's talk about Amajita today.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. The SA Under-20 men's football team will be looking to make history by beating Colombia today to advance to the Under-20 World Cup quarterfinals in Chile. On Sunday, Amajita beat USA 2-1 to reach the knockout stages for the first time, also managing to win more than one game at the tournament for the first time. The winner between the two tonight is going to face Spain next. Here's Coach Raymond Mdaka.
Something that I like is the support that we're getting from home. You know, it shows much as we are here that we are together as a country. But then there is the question that was always asked when we left to say it's a World Cup, the one of the difficult teams that we're going to meet there, the groups that we were in. But we always said no, we promised the country just to do what we can see, sometimes it becomes better if you lose or the game, but with every player or all the players having given in all they can. So we are together, and we'll push even the next game that is coming.
Well, kickoff is at 9:30. Elsewhere, Norway are on the brink of history, just one win away from qualifying for their first World Cup since 1998, and that would leave Italy facing a third consecutive tournament watching from home. Norway faces Israel on Saturday. Meanwhile, England continue to dominate Group K, and they return to action on Tuesday, needing a win over Latvia to book their ticket to next year's finals in the United States. Mexico and Canada, provided Serbia failed to beat Albania on Saturday. In rugby, the national rugby unions of 8 of the sport's major nations released a statement today warning players and support staff against joining the Rebel R360 competition. Now, the R360 competition has backing from private investors and former England centre and 2003 Rugby World Cup winner Mike Tindall as the public face of the project. Few details are known about the plans, but reports have emerged that it would involve 6 to 8 men's teams and 4 women's teams, and would hope to attract the best players from all over the world to play for the competition's franchises. But there are concerns about where the competition would fit in an already congested calendar. So in response, the National Rugby Unions of Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Ireland, England, Scotland, France and Italy said in a joint statement today that players who joined the R60 project would make themselves ineligible for national team selection. Then in cricket, Proteas stand-in Test captain Aiden Markram was happy with their preparations for the upcoming tour of Pakistan and believes that they've covered all bases in terms of what to expect there. The team jetted off to Lahore today, where they'll begin their all-format tour with 2 tests, 3 T20 internationals and 3 one-day internationals from the 12th of October to the 8th of November. They held a 2-day camp in Pretoria to work on particularly the spin conditions that they're going to face from the Pakistanis, and Makram says that they'll be a little bit more confident batting on those pitches after what they worked on.
They've managed to get the wickets to turn quite a bit. There's a couple nets where it's really exaggerated. You almost rather would have it on that side and get to that side in Pakistan and it maybe feel a bit easier, but it's been a good couple of days. Obviously still with the afternoon session now as well, but expecting the spin side of things big time. Naturally a lot lower there from a seam point of view, a lot more skiddy. So it's quite hard to emulate here that in South Africa, but we're trying to put a bit of emphasis on that and find ways of training that as well. And then the bowlers, they're doing their thing. They've obviously been really good for us over quite a good period of time now, and your attack might look a bit different in a place like Pakistan, but we certainly feel happy with the fact that we've got all bases covered.
Anything's off with golf. The Limpopo Championship is expected to feature a strong field of established Sunshine Tour stars and a promising group of rising young contenders when this 2.5 million rand tournament gets underway at the Euphoria Golf and Lifestyle Estate from the 9th to the 12th of October. This flagship sporting event for Limpopo tourism has drawn a list of entries, including defending champion Dion Hermes-Hayes, 2 of the top 3 players on the Sunshine Tour's Career Guy Order of Merit, and 7 of the past 10 championships on the tour this season. It's another resounding endorsement of a tournament that will celebrate its 7th edition as an event that showcases the rich cultural and wildlife diversity of Limpopo. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
Absolutely, and for some reason, she's not going to tell you why, but Tumi has just got this broad smile on her face. She's just very, very happy. Don't ask why. Just be happy that she's happy.
I can't wait for Friday.
Thank you.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Great news, travelers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Hoedspruit 3 times a week. So, whether you want to chase the Big Five in Kruger, soak up the views at God's Window, or wind through the beautiful panorama route, Hoedspruit is the perfect launchpad to some of SA's amazing natural treasures. Ready to go from coastlines to canyons in just a few clicks? Book flights now at flysafair.co.za from just 1,570 Rand. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Mr. Govender, congrats on the retirement. You just sold your car to We Buy Cars. Tell us about it.
Yes, it just gathered dust in the garage, so I exchanged it for cold hard cash. Now my wife and I can enjoy a stress-free retirement.
Retiring the car as you retire. Nice. So why We Buy Cars?
It was so quick. They came over to our house to do the evaluation, and we sold it the same day. Tops, man.
Okay, so now you got even more time on your hands, eh?
Exactly.
We Buy Cars. Geared for your next chapter. Geared for you.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
So I can tell you on later on after 4 o'clock, we'll be chatting to the Basic Education Minister relating to the issue of the education assistance not being paid and a settlement of sorts now being reached, right? But that comes up later. For now, we go back to Parliament's ad hoc committee, and once again, you'll hear the voice of Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi.
About what is happening. So when I was engaging with him, as I was confronting him, he said, you know what, there's just too much politics. I've been complaining about SBIA ever since to the National Commissioner, but whatever I say doesn't matter, it seems like it. And the SBIA continue doing what it's doing. While this side is having the crime intelligence that he's trying to deal with, and he's having challenges there, and he's seeking assistance from the head office, from the national office, and he's not getting the assistance. So it's a man who started getting frustrated. And I think when this thing came to him, he just felt, maybe let me just get rid of this, because the National Commission maybe is not assisting and stopping it. Let me push it aside and focus on my things. And that's why he omitted to then make me away. He simply gave an instruction to a colonel. He said, Colonel, go and fetch the dockets that are investigation, bring them here, as per this letter. So that colonel told the ones in Durban, they said, bring these dockets, and the dockets were transported. That's how the dockets ended up in Pretoria. When I became aware is when they wanted to bring these dockets back. That's when I asked him, because when I heard about it, I wrote him a letter. I said, I'm told these dockets are in Pretoria. How did it happen? That's when they responded to say they were moved in this fashion.
I understand that, General, about Khumalo, but your members, the individual members who are in the PKTT, who've got this high credibility and are executing the task expected as their commander, as someone that you work with, apart from whether Colonel called them or Khumalo, why didn't one of them communicate with you? Because this is, I'm trying to establish this effective machinery that you are saying. This is the most effective machinery we have at SAPS. Why is not the senior ranks, these investigators, these people who are dealing with the actual issues, why are they not giving you that information that General Khumalo or whoever said we must bring the dockets to Pretoria? Only to hear after. I mean, you gave a very good example that someone comes into your house, he takes your things and then he goes away with them and says, when I was at your house, I took 1, 2, 3, 4. No one can do that at my house. It will never happen. That you come into my house and take something and I don't know about it. So what really happened to these members who are so loyal and so active and so disciplined that they can't tell their commander, only to be embarrassed that his dockets are in Pretoria?
Yeah, honorable members, the command and control, when it's effective, such then happens. Because our structure and our working arrangement was that the members that are doing the job, they understand and they know their commanders. They don't bypass that process. The center was holding. So at the center of this operation was General Khumalo. So when I was getting briefing, Khumalo and the leaders of certain groups will come and brief me about the work they do. I will not engage with the individual member directly. So I was always engaging them in a formal structure all the time when I'm engaging with them. So the problem started in January, as I said. I also learned from Gerald Khumalo that the members are not happy. So when I asked him, what do you mean the members are not happy? He said, because they were supposed to get awards, during the Excellence Awards, and their names have been removed. They are told they are no longer going to be recognized with anything. That's when I went to meet with the members myself. Because when he phoned me, he told me that the members are not happy. So I went to meet with them. For the first time, I had a one-on-one with them. And I asked him, they said, Gerald, we are disappointed. I still said to them, I'm going to give my allocation of one table of 10 people. It's better we don't come. So that was the first time where I had a one-on-one engagement where I got to feel the pain in their eyes. This is January, long before the letter is written. The dockets are taken. I started feeling the pain in their faces in January. Fast forward, the same January or February, there's this instruction of the reduction of the workforce of this team. At that time, I conclude that it is because of the budgetary constraint. That because the budget approval has been reduced, we can therefore not have this total workforce that we had. I accepted that. We are running towards the end of the financial year, reprioritization that must happen. So I did not challenge it. But then the financial year starts in April. Obviously, the budget might not be allocated almost immediately. But again, the team that is authorized to continue the work as a new submission is made in April 2024, it still speaks about the reduced number of deployments. So I concluded that it means the challenge is the budget. That's why the reduced number. So knowing the challenges we have, financial challenges we have as an organization, as a country as a whole, I couldn't challenge that much. I said, okay, well, we'll do with the less number of members maybe going forward. But when this communication of DOC has been taken up to Pretoria came, I then realized, but this problem started back then, with the letter, the members not getting rewards, and the members are starting to question themselves from January about the work they are doing, whether they are upsetting the executive and why the executive is treating them like this, up until the period when these dockets in March are taken up to Pretoria. So it's already a couple of months back, and that's why the members, I think they became numb to complain about anything, and they didn't say anything, they just kept quiet.
So when they arrive in Pretoria, these dockets, they are put under SIBIA?
SIBIA is in charge of both crime intelligence and detective. It is my understanding that SIBIA wrote to the Divisional Commission of Crime of Detectives, Gerald Sentumole, to take these dockets from crime intelligence. So I don't see on the directive where did he want these dockets to go to. But it's my understanding that the docket were kept at the office of a brigadier under General Sentumule's office. Of course, Gerald SIBIA remains the boss overall. So meaning he has access to those dockets in one way or another.
Of the 121, there were 5 dockets which had clear instructions of arrest.
That's correct.
What happened to those dockets? Are they, have you arrested people since the dockets are back? Have you arrested people? How far are these cases? And if they still remain unresolved, what is the issue?
We are still looking for the other suspect, but 2 of the suspects have been arrested on those dockets, and one of the suspects unfortunately died. I think he was already identified, but he died, so he couldn't be charged. There's no more. But the others, we are still looking for them.
General, what do you mean the minister you met at Mbangeni and the minister you met in this letter are not the same people?
They're totally different people.
Why?
I asked myself the same question, I don't remember, because when I approached the chief of staff, when I called him on the 2nd of January after learning of the letter, after seeing the letter, it was my understanding that the relationship between me and him will allow for him to secure the meeting with the minister, as he did before the minister came into the police. He was able to say, oh, you are the provincial commissioner, I know the minister, so that he get to know you since you are policing his environment. He doesn't live here, he works at Department of Water Affairs, so come and meet him. So we met. It was a meeting, one of the elders and one of the senior government leaders in the province. It was not a problem because we just did that unofficially. So when it's time for us to talk business, I expected the minister is going to open his arms and said, I know you're already through Nkabinde, come. But that never happened. And that's where I started wondering what could be the reason behind it. But when he's in front of me, he smiles all the time. But this, what I'm asking for, is not happening.
Now, if you say the minister did not write a letter, and this is not the same person I see who smiles all the time when we meet, and the one that I see in the letter, two different people, will that be an excuse that someone gave a minister a letter and the minister signed? Because he doesn't dispute that is his signature. Once he signs, that is his letter. And we can't say minister didn't know, someone misled the minister, because I don't understand which angle are you trying to take there. The minister signed a letter. Even if he said, I didn't read the letter, I just signed it. It is his signature. It means he didn't do his own duties by making sure that he reads through the documents before he signs them. Is there any excuse why shouldn't we hold this letter against the minister himself as his own letter?
Well, it is the minister's letter. When I registered a complaint, a criminal complaint, minister is one of the suspects that I'm pursuing in that complaint I have, because he's the author of this chaos.
How far is that case?
The chaos. This is a real chaos.
Yeah. How far is that case where you complained about this?
It's still an investigation. I'm not part of it because I rely on the prosecution in KZN and the team investigating to brief me from time to time. But the progress they shared with me 2 weeks ago, I was quite pleased with the progress that they're making. The minister owns a letter. He signs it. It's his letter. However, if we're to fix the problem, it is my belief that we must go beyond the minister's ownership of the letter. With his signature, it's his letter. That's given. But we need to find out what led into him writing such a letter. When I speak to the chief of staff and he said the letter's been going back and forth, it is against that background that made me to believe that someone crafted the letter for the minister to sign. Yes, obvious. If a person gives a gun to shoot and kill someone and you take that gun and you shoot and kill someone, it's your problem. But we need to find out who actually gave you the gun. So this is basically what I'm trying to communicate, that can we not just leave it with the minister? Let's go beyond, because we're going to miss problems that exist in the organization if we only deal with the outcome. Let's try and fix the real problem.
In this case that you're pursuing following this letter, minister is a person of interest, and you're saying the investigation is going on, they're getting briefing from time to time. Is there any arrest anytime soon, according to the briefings you're receiving?
It is my prayer and hope that by the time the 31st of December of this year comes, we'll be talking about the letter of the 35th of December last year in court. That's my hope.
Now, Minister, General, don't you think, and that's my observation, you'll tell me if I'm wrong, this Nkabinde went to tell, because you explained he's got a minister, his relationship separate from you with the minister, went to tell the minister, okay, let me start differently. I don't see anything wrong with you going to see a minister. It's actually part of your duty. It's your constituency. As one of the high-profile people in your province, it's always...
Right, we'll just pause for the moment with Julius Malema talking to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, but rest assured, on the National Pulse, we'll be right back.
We have different languages and cultures, but what we have in common is that we all want a dignified funeral and for our loved ones not to worry about money when the time comes. Trust Clientele to provide you with affordable funeral cover that will pay out within 24 hours. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's SAFM to 48031. SMS now. Clientele Life is a licensed life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates, terms and conditions apply.
This week on FC Meets, Tisetso and Bandile sit down with TS Galaxy and Bafana Bafana midfield maestro Puso Ditejani. He shares his story of turning adversity into opportunity and obstacles into triumph. Tune into SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus the Saturday 11 October at 6 p.m. FC Meets, football made for community by community. Ritenta Game. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
October month, SAFM joins the world in breast cancer awareness. We bring you conversations that highlight the importance of early detection, survivor stories that inspire hope, and expert advice that could save lives. Together, let's spread awareness and support the fight against breast cancer. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, as always, again, we get right back to the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. Questions being asked by Julius Malema to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi.
And do all manner of things. But to use a judgment of a magistrate to then say judiciary is involved, I think it was a bit overreach. I get the point what you were trying to drive home, especially a magistrate. As a member of the Judicial Service Commission, judiciary to us is judges. We know magistrates is part of that. But when you are asked to give example of these judicial people who are involved in this wrongdoing and were given a name of a magistrate compared to what we had at the press conference, I think there was an overreach there.
Honorable Member, I had said earlier, unfortunately, you'll appreciate at the Madlanga Commission, there are two presentations that are done there. It's an open one and the in-camera. If this ad committee were to adopt similar approach, perhaps maybe engaging the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence, you will hear things that might shock you about that, what you believe is a judiciary, which is judges, how the judge gets involved in the mix.
Is that your evidence, General, that in camera we're going to hear explosive things about judges?
Yeah, it's there.
Now, General, I want to quickly summarize some of the issues my colleagues will deal with. Do you know, or before I go there, when you realize the minister is not giving you an ear, the minister is not listening to you, and it looks like these things are proceedings, the same way you did when you were acting commissioner, did you try to reach out to the president, or did you reach out to the president and tell the president that there is this illegal activity that is about to happen and please intervene as the executive authority?
No, unfortunately, I did not go to the president. I will have relied on a national commissioner to play the role that I played when I was in that position, to reach out to the president.
But do you think the president was aware that the PKTT is going to be dissolved?
I cannot say that. If I listen to what he said in the recent media interview he did in Northern Cape, it makes me believe that he didn't know. When I met with him after my press briefing, he acted as a person who was not aware of what was happening.
Do you know a relationship of President and Paul O'Sullivan?
No, I don't know how related they are. I just don't know that Mr. Paul O'Sullivan speaks a lot about being in contact with many people, including the president. So I have not gone deeper into establishing the type of relationship they have.
Does he have do you know of any relationship between him and one of the president's advisors?
Mr. Paul O'Sullivan? No, not I know of. I know that there is a lot of talks about engagement, I think, with Mr. Chauke and amongst others. But again, it's something that it's communicated out there, but I never really got deeper to investigate the type of relationship that is there.
Through our own intelligence, were you able to establish that Paul O'Sullivan is a member or a former member of M16?
Well, I have not necessarily got the briefing in details from intelligence in that regard. I've had the talks about it. I don't have the full briefing. What is of interesting is that he's got citizenship in 3 countries, and that makes me wonder. And he seems to have been a person who got angry when he was disturbed by being removed from the ports of entry in South Africa, the main port of entry at the time, which was Johannesburg International Airport. When he was removed, he did not take that kindly. So it will make me conclude that there were some things that were happening in that airport that made him angry.
So we'll be correct to say Mr. Paul O'Sullivan is one of the rogue elements that are destabilizing SAPS and wanting to capture every senior police officer at SAPS, and if you don't cooperate, he start engaging in blackmailing activities.
with no doubt, I'm going to invite the Parliament through the structures of intelligence or structures of security and whoever structures you can come up with, to look at the time of Mr. Robert McBride Turner as the head of IPID. How they were interacting with Paul O'Sullivan. Bank movements, money movements, the meeting venues, the cell phone locations where they meet, how they engage in terms of investigation. I'm saying this to the members because it is that which Mr. Nkabinde told me, who is now a chief of staff in the office of the minister, that operations of IPID were planned, coordinated, and executed at Paul O'Sullivan's house. That was his words to me. So I'm going to request that such be investigated in details, because the phone will put McBride in this place, will put Paul O'Sullivan in this place, will put Nkabinde in this place, and others. And when that investigation is conducted, nobody can deny it, because we'll know exactly that all of them have been operating, guided by Paul O'Sullivan. And that is on one side. And I'm interested to know, honorable members, as to who is the author of the report that was produced when the city of Johannesburg, as well as the National Commissioner, wrote to the State Security asking them about the legality or otherwise of the gadget that were bought by the city of Johannesburg at the time when Jairus Bia was in charge of the security in that place. And who is...
Okay, we'll pause again, and we'll hopefully pick up on that as soon as we can. But there's also a conversation coming up with the Minister of Basic Education. That's Minister Siviwe Kwarube, responding to the issue on the education assistants not being paid. And a joint meeting was held today in a press briefing, and that apparently a deal has been struck. We'll get to that just now. First of all, it's the news at 4 years on Della.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, Mkhwanazi raises safety concerns for Gauteng's crime intelligence team, and JSC recommends 5 names for the Concord vacancies. For SFM News, I'm Wondelambana, and a very good afternoon. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says he is concerned about the safety of the crime intelligence team based in Gauteng that are investigating criminal syndicates. He has been testifying for the second day before Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into concerns about national security. It was established to probe allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference, Mkhwanazi made in July. Yesterday, Mkhwanazi's evidence was led by the evidence leader, Advocate Norman Arendse, and today he is facing questions from members of the committee. Mkhwanazi says he is not worried about the safety of those on the political killings task team, but rather the crime intelligence team in Gauteng.
Why do I say that? Because they were put in a safe house to operate from. The member of this house, together with others, they publish the photos of that house in the media. So therefore, their working place is compromised. The members that are operating the driving vehicles, those vehicles have been exposed in public. And I believe in some degree, maybe even the names of the members might be known. And their safety for me is a concern.
The Judicial Service Commission will recommend 5 out of 6 names interviewed for 2 vacancies at the Constitutional Court to President Cyril Ramaphosa. The JSC has concluded its interviews for the 2 vacancies for the Apex Court. Commissioner Sesi Baloyi.
And the list is of 5 candidates that we're submitting to the President, and these are in no particular order. Judge N. Dambuza, Advocate A.C. Dodson SC, Judge G.G. Hussein, Judge K.M. Savage, and Judge A. Stevens. That's a list that will be submitted to the President.
Anglo-American CEO Duncan Wanbald says the company remains hopeful about South Africa's minerals mining potential despite Anglo's divestment in companies operating in the country. Anglo's restructuring program has been characterized by letting go of its interest in various South African platinum companies, including Valterra and De Beers. Wanbald says Anglo's restructuring strategy is not due to any insurmountable problems in the country and has been well received by government. Wanbald was participating in a panel discussion at the Joburg Indaba Center in northern Johannesburg.
There's a lot of goodwill and support of Anglo by the government, and we feel that, right? There's a lot of tough things that we have to talk about from time to time, and we do that, but we do that behind closed doors, and we do it in the right way. When I have a look at the other jurisdictions where Anglo operates in, they are not materially easier or better than South Africa, right? I mean, I think the jurisdiction is what you make out of it, unless it is completely and utterly structurally broken.
2 men have been shot dead in separate incidents and within a short space of time in the same area of Chatsworth, south of Durban. In the first incident, a local barber believed to be in his 40s was gunned down on Summerfield Road in Bayview. Around 2 kilometers away, a second man was shot and killed while working in a garden. ALS paramedic spokesperson Gareth Jamieson.
ALS paramedics has responded to 2 separate shooting incidents within an hour of each other. Medics found that a man in his 40s, who is known to be a local barber, had sustained multiple gunshot wounds. Paramedics assessed the man, however, he showed no signs of life and was declared deceased on the scene. Then shortly afterwards, paramedics responded to Fiona Road in the Mobeni area. On arrival, paramedics found a man believed to be in his 40s, and he was declared deceased at the scene. At this stage, the events leading up to the shooting is unknown. However, SAPS were in attendance at both the scenes and will be investigating further.
The government says no ransom was paid for the release of the South Africans in the Global Summit flotilla that were taken into custody by Israeli forces while en route to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. They arrived in the country today from Jordan. International Relations and Cooperation Minister spokesperson Crispin Piri says non-profit organizations came together and made contributions.
Government made a zero contribution financially to the flotilla initiative. It is a civilian-led initiative. It is an initiative of NGOs, as you could see. It's entirely led by the NGO sector in South Africa. And as the Chief Nkosi Mandela had said, he detailed how they got their funding. What we did was to ensure that we facilitate their release diplomatically and ensure that it's coordinated with all of our officers in the Middle East region.
Recapping the top story, KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says he is concerned about the safety of the crime intelligence team based in Gauteng that are investigating criminal syndicates. He has been testifying for the second day before Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into concerns about national security. I'm Mondela for SFM News Headlines at 4:30.
In sports this hour, Amajita knows what to expect from Colombia tonight. Safa Hawks raid challenge removed from roll after court no-show, and Bangladesh won a cricket World Cup rivals, saying that there are no easy beats. More detail at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in Johannesburg, slow moving towards Crown Interchange, and the N1 northbound in Pretoria, slow moving towards Rigel Avenue. In Gauteng, on the N2 northbound, a crash reported at Umgeni Road. In Cape Town, the N1 inbound slow moving on the elevated freeway, and Main Road outbound in Observatory, slow moving towards the N2 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Think about 6 years ago, when Amapiano was just a musical instrument, when streaming meant watching water flow, not videos online, and remote work was only said when your remote batteries died. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Ohino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
SAFM's Meeting Point invites you to join Koketso Sachane for a roundtable dialogue on the crime and gangsterism plaguing the Cape Flats. Join us at the SABC1's M1 studios in Cape Town, where Koketso, together with guests, unpack the crisis and asks how we can make our communities safer. Tune in to the Meeting Point with Koketso Sachane on Wednesday, the 8th of October, as we unpack this critical conversation. To be part of the studio audience, email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So it's been a strange time at this moment. I understand the last couple of weeks with, on the one hand, testimony regarding the Commission of Inquiry on the one hand, and now, of course, the issue of the parliamentary ad hoc committee getting together, investigating police corruption. Of course, they are so linked and overlap absolutely. Now, it does mean that some of the regular programming has been, disrupted or interrupted, if that's the right word. And we'll get back then to Parliament as soon as we can to that ad hoc committee, but not now, because there are other important issues that we must cover as well. We'll hopefully talk about the arrival of the South Africans back from the flotilla after being, apprehended, arrested, and then finally discharged or released by Israel. And they've all come back today. But for now, let's talk about the issue of the education assistance or the unpaid education assistance. Now, we talked about it yesterday, this issue, I understand, between the Department of Employment and Labour on the one hand, as well as the Department of Basic Education. Central to that, the payment or the non-payment of education assistance. Central to that, of course, is, compromised service delivery and what that means even for the education assistance. So where does all this start? Where does it end? But very importantly, today there was a joint press briefing by the two departments. So what have they agreed? With me is the Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Khwarube. Good afternoon, Minister. Much appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Thank you. Right. So I get it. A deal has been struck. Tell me more.
Yes. Ashraf, firstly, I think just to express that, the profound impact this delay has had on teaching assistants who've done the work for the past 3 months, and not having their stipends being paid for September is deeply regrettable. And some of these assistants are people who are heading up homes, who this means a difference between a plate of food or not. And so we have been working tirelessly over the past 5 days to resolve this matter. And I'm pleased to announce today that payments have started flowing into people's accounts, and that really want to make the undertaking to the South African public that government processes should not impact poorly on people, and that we ourselves must get our house in order, make sure that as the 5 entities that are working with the payment of these stipends, that we sharpen our processes and we make our process a lot easier so that we can all comply and that payments can be made.
Okay, let's take a step back in terms of, first of all, in terms of the agreement, right? When you agree, it means you disagreed at one stage. So let's just go back to the fallout. What was the cause of the problem here? Because central to this are the impact on human beings. But we'll get to that in a moment. What actually was the cause of the problem that could not be resolved before?
Yeah. So the issue was never a non-resolution, Ashraf. So the issue here was that in the first 3 months since the teaching assistants started, they started in June. From June, July, and August, that first tranche of payments was done by the National Treasury, and then from September, the payments will now be administered by the UIF, which falls under the Department of Employment and Labour. However, the reporting requirements or the requirements that the UIF has are slightly different to that of National Treasury. And so in the agreement that we've agreed to, the UIF expects the Department of Basic Education to make sure that all provincial education departments and all schools are collecting attendance registers of all teaching assistants. The reason why the UIF is doing this is because they want to make sure that the money is going to people who are actually showing up for work, and also making sure that there are no ghost employees, so to speak. So now we have to make sure that every single month, by a particular date, all the schools that have teaching assistants submit their attendance registers to the provinces, and the provinces submit this information to us so that we can submit it to the UIF. So the difference here, the reason why, so if somebody asks why was there no delay before and why is there a delay now, is obviously the change in the payment system, but also us having to agree under the agreement what it is that each department needs to do, what we need to do, what Dell needs to do, what the UIF does in order for the IDC to pay out. So the reason why I can confidently say that this experience has shown us where the weaknesses in the system are. So, for instance, as the DBE, obviously, as you can imagine, to collect attendance registers in thousands of schools is a cumbersome process. It now means that we have to have a conversation with provinces to say, how do we collect this data effectively? And also, how does the UIF and the IDC provide us with an online platform so that this is not this paper-based information that is collected? So there was never a disagreement, but the administrative process meant that there were delays. And these are the delays that I'm saying that are unacceptable because they have a profound impact on people. So we have to get our houses in order, and I can assure people that we have worked very well over the past 5 days, and we have resolved what it is that we need to do going forward to avoid this kind of delay.
Okay, so to confirm then, and I mean this I understand at its core is about verification, as opposed to, not having the budget to pay, which would, I suppose both are alarming if you're not going to get paid. It doesn't matter what the reasons may be, but it is about verification, right? I mean, can we then, and I know you've touched on it to a degree, but can we put a point on it to say this is where the problem occurred in terms of we should have done better here? And I know the general statement we've learned, but where should it have been done better? That means what was the cause of the problem here?
Yeah. No, we absolutely, and I mean, I was quite clear, Ashraf, also even this morning, that this should never happen, and this should have never happened. And so we should have had our processes in order. But at the same time, I'm also very well aware that this is the first time that these payments are being done in this way. So, of course, there were going to be challenges. But I was quite clear about the fact that we've gotten our house in order. We know what the working arrangement should be, and when, and the timelines of when which information needs to be in when. And so, of course, I was quite clear about the fact that this should never have happened because it has had a profound impact on people. But what is important for me is that, one, consequence management on my part, at least in where my department sits, is quite important. And that's why I've instructed the Director General to give me a report about where we have been liable for delays and where we should have foreseen that it would take us long to get these attendance registers, because consequence management in the public service is important, Ashraf, because otherwise we don't learn. But more importantly, I think for me, the big takeaway and the big lesson here is, one, that I have a very direct now relationship with this process because I've been seized with it. And we've now solidified what our processes are between us, Employment and Labour, the UIF, and the IDC. And I think that was important. And I think before, there wasn't really clear role clarification. And I think at least as DBE, we know what's required from us in order for the teaching assistants to be paid on time.
Okay. Let's just go back to the date. So so that we have it on record, when should they have been paid, and how long has it finally taken for them, the educators, to be paid? Because I understand the assistance, that is. I understand monies have been released today. Some people getting paid today, others maybe a day later, depending on their bank account. So what has been the gap between when they should have been paid to today?
So they would have been paid by the end of September, on the last day of the month. And so this delay has been a week. And so this is why, as I said, I've been seized with this matter since Thursday, to work with the UIF, to work with Employment and Labour and IDC to try and make sure that the information that was sent to them is verified quickly so that we can get the payments done. And I also just want to say, I think what has been really heartwarming for me is that there's been a great collaboration between us and Employment and Labour, and also, a very much a solutions-orientated attitude to say, how do we assist one another so that this, because at the end of the day, it reflects poorly on government when we don't meet our contractual agreements with people who do this kind of work. And while we may be simply the beneficiaries as a department, there's also work we need to do to make sure that the UIF is also covered on their side.
Okay. Someone to confirm, you do agree this does reflect poorly on government because, as you said, we did not meet our contractual obligations.
I'm saying we do not meet our contractual obligations or with our teaching assistants. They were expecting to be paid, and they've been paid a week later. And I don't think that's good enough, Ashraf. And I think even when we are having conversations with ourselves and within the departments, it's not good enough. If we say we're going to pay people at the end of the month, we must pay people at the end of the month. And so that's why, for me, the biggest commitment that I'm making is that we have polished our systems to make sure that when we say we're going to pay people at the end of the month, actually happens.
Okay, one of the things I've been very intentional about recently is that whichever conversations we have about whatever, is to remember it is ultimately about the people. Because sometimes we speak at a top level and forget about the people. What impact? I mean, and you would know as the minister, what impact has this had on the people, these assistants, in terms of their lives being, I think, unraveled really to a large degree, and an impact on their morale besides the fact that their bills are not paid. Can you tell us anything that you'd like to share?
Absolutely. I mean, Ashraf, that's what I'm saying. These are unemployed young people who have received this employment opportunity, and a lot of them are showing up diligently in schools and are doing the work. And at the end of the day, a lot of these of our teaching assistants and general assistants are leading families. They're putting food on the table. They've got children in schools themselves. So I'm acutely aware that when we say, you are expecting a 4,000 Rand stipend into your account, that for somebody is an entire livelihood. So and that's why, and when I started this morning by saying, I want to reflect on that. I want to reflect on the fact that these are not just numbers, not 150,000 people just, glibly saying that. These are people and these are families, and I'm acutely aware of that. And that's why I'm saying to you that for me, it's not good enough that there were these delays, and it should not happen again.
Okay.
And that's that I've been clear about. Yeah.
And I think it's important that when I say you, I'm talking in plural, as government does own up. We have far too little of that. I want to ask you just the last thing about the status or the state of education in KZN. There's been a bit of an uproar about that, and we'll do that right after this.
At Anglo American, we mine more than minerals. We mine possibility and progress with purpose. For over a century, we have been part of South Africa's story, investing in our country's potential and unlocking opportunities together. This year alone, through our Kumba iron ore business, we've invested 25.9 billion Rand into South Africa. This includes infrastructure development, education and healthcare, community upliftment, and more. Follow us on our social media channels, Anglo American South Africa, and join the conversation. Anglo American, mining potential, building beyond.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
All right, let's conclude the conversation with the Minister of Basic Education, Minister Siviwe Gwarube. Now, we've talked about education assistance, and thanks for fronting up about the problems and the solutions. Let's talk about the KZN region and education there. We've discussed it. We had a chat with the Premier last week. We've had other stakeholders. Yesterday, we chatted to, I think, the chairperson of the Parents Association. The narrative is the same, that there are serious problems with regard to education or the lack thereof in the KZN region. What can you tell us about that?
Ashraf, KwaZulu-Natal finds itself in a very difficult fiscal environment. Of course, the entire sector is financially constrained, and I've been quite open about that. And even when I came into office in September, I did an entire analysis of provincial finances. But the problem in KwaZulu-Natal is rather acute. And the reason being is that the province, the reasoning is two-pronged. Number one, the fact that the province is has the largest cohort of schools, of learners, and of course the austerity measures over the past 10 years, where we've seen systemic cuts from budgets of education and health, have made matters worse. But also, there's been some poor decisions made around the cost of employees bill that the province undertook after COVID-19, which made the cost of employees bill balloon. And so we are sitting in the scenario now where the department is under Section 18 of the PFMA, which is some kind of oversight mechanism that the provincial Treasury has on the department. And the reason why that is so that Treasury can monitor that the department is spending money that it actually has, and that the provincial Treasury has oversight on its finances.
Okay.
But I've been concerned, and about a week ago, I went down to KwaZulu-Natal, met with the Premier, the two MECs for Finance and for Education, and we've made it clear that we need to make sure that we are ready for 2026, that we are funding textbooks, and that schools are ready. We have no choice. Education, unfortunately, is not a progressively realizable right. It's an immediately realizable one. And so we have to make it work, and we have to get the province out of this financial hole that they're in, back into a place of sustainability.
Okay. Let's leave it at that, because I think that's the commitment, and of course that's a story we naturally would have to track. Thank you for your time. The Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Gwarube, thank you for your time. You're on the National Pulse. Right, let's do this once again. We get back to Parliament and that ad hoc committee, and once again it continues with Julius Malema talking to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, and the name O'Sullivan, remember him, has come up a few times in the conversation in the last half an hour or so.
We must prioritize. We are talking political killings, but we look at the case. It's not only politicians there. You have these officials because the motive is a matter because of a tender. So, and the person killed is an official. So we take that and we prioritize it. That's how we're investigating.
So to speak to the issue of political involvement or political capture, I can say, of the justice system. And we're probably pushing it here a little bit, but I'm just going to... President Ramaphosa, you said in 2018, made the decision at an ANC meeting that we are going to establish the Political Killings Task Force. And I'm asking this question not to... And it mustn't be misinterpreted of the capacity and the job that the task force has done, but that this task force was used to deal with organizational matters, to deal with organizational ill discipline. So state resources were used by the ANC to be able to deal with their party leadership battles. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, that's why I said, had the president ended with that outside that house address on the 18th, and there was never any other address in government, after that, I would have agreed with you saying that it's been a political thing from the beginning to end. It might have started political. Government that leads society today in this administration are the political parties that came with the manifestos and they told South Africans, this is what we're going to do for you and the likes. And the political decisions and the proposals sold to the society leads into elections, which leads into the formation of government. So when the government execute their work, they execute exactly which they promised as a political party when they were campaigning. And that's what ends up into a policy of government going forward. So if the president then addresses people and make pronouncement as a politician, he comes back into the house and he officiate that as a government position, then we cannot say it's a political decision, it's a government decision. So such as example I made, political parties, once they are in government, they are government. Any decision coming out of the committee cannot be said it's a decision of this and that political party, because there are others that are not here. It's going to be a decision of government that comes out of the ad hoc committee.
But because they have access to government and to parliament, they are able to make that decision. But I'll park it there for now. The other question was on, you mentioned, I think it's in Annexure NSM 3 and 4, where you spoke about the Richards Bay minerals. In KwaZulu-Natal, perhaps you can speak to us directly on that. How many companies have requested services from the police exclusively on their premises? Do you have that, or is it something that happens very often? And I ask this in light of other crimes that are happening that might even exceed what is going on in companies, and also the political killings and related matters as well.
Okay. We're going to have to pause for that answer, unfortunately, because we have lots more to do. We're going to get to economics and sport. And before that, the news headlines here at 4:30 with Ondela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, South Africa's late ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa, will receive an official Category 2 funeral. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says he's concerned about the safety of the crime intelligence team based in Gauteng that are investigating criminal syndicates. And the Table Mountain Aerial Cableway Company has extended a special invitation to locals to celebrate its 96th birthday ahead of the summer rush. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hose.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 eastbound in Germiston, slow moving towards Jet Park Road. The N3 northbound in Bedfordview, slow moving towards Van Buren Road. And the N1 northbound in Midrand, slow moving towards New Road. In KZN, unplanned general roadworks on the N3 north beyond the ramp to Stockville Road is now clear. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue, Helen Suzman Boulevard inbound in Greenpoint, queuing towards Bakencraft Street, and Voortrekker Road outbound slow moving through Maitland. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkgapele.
And once again, to me, eye is on Amajita.
Yes, Amajita coach Raymond Mdaka says that they know what to expect from Colombia in the round of 16 at the FIFA Under-20 Men's World Cup tonight. SA finished second in Group E on 6 points after wins against New Caledonia and USA and a loss to France. This is the first time that Amajita faced the South American side in the global showpiece, and Mdaka says that he expects them to bring a different kind of play to the one that they used to. In the meantime, according to SABC Sports, suffers legal challenge over last year's Hawks raid at the Nasrec headquarters has been removed from the High Court roll this morning. This is after the association failed to appear in court as scheduled. The move marks a major setback for SAFA President Danny Jordan, CFO Groenie Hluyo, and both facing charges of corruption and conspiracy to commit fraud in the Palm Ridge Commercial Crimes Court. The High Court ruling was expected to influence those proceedings, with SAFA arguing the search and seizure was very unlawful. Meanwhile, Golden Arrows coach Manqoba Mngqithi believes that his side are edging closer to playing the kind of football that will draw fans back to the stands.
Maybe we must also ask our supporters to also come in and support this team. I think now we are closer and closer to playing the football that I think we can play. And when I look at the players that are coming back from injury, I become even more optimistic that we are getting closer and closer to where we want to be. But I need our people, man. I know people of Umlazi, people of KwaMashu, people of Lamontville, used to come in numbers to support us, and I just think now we are at a stage where the football that this team is playing needs a little bit more from outside, and even if it's young kids that come to support, I think it would be even better, because I think now we are just short of that 12th player to make sure that we get ourselves there.
In rugby, Bulls coach Johan Ackerman is playing a vital role in guiding JJ Theron and Jeswell Juster transition from the junior Springboks to the URC. Ackerman, who served as a consultant during the Junior Boks triumphant World Rugby Under-20 Championship campaign earlier this year, has brought both youngsters into his Bulls setup for the start of the new URC season. And according to Junior Boks assistant coach Curry, that existing connection has been key to their early impact in Pretoria. In the meantime, retired England stars Ben Youngs and Dan Cole have praised the Springboks' physical dominance at scrum time. The Boks, who sealed back-to-back championship titles for the first time with a 29-27 win over Argentina, once again underlined their trademark strength up front. At one point, a 7-man scrum with Peter Steph du Toit filling in at scrum half, while Kanan Moody was in the sin bin, shoved Argentina's 8-man pack off their own ball, leaving fans and pundits in disbelief. That level of power didn't go unnoticed by two men who know it all too well. Both Youngs and Cole were part of the England teams that lost to the Springboks back in 2019 at the World Cup final and 2023 semi-final, where scrum dominance provided decisiveness. Meanwhile, in netball, the Aussie Diamonds clinched the 3-match series with a thumping 67-40 victory over the Spa Proteas today. Errors by the Spa Proteas did not help their cause as the Aussie Diamonds took the first quarter 18-11. Australia continued piling the goals on the other end and took the second quarter 14-11, and overall the lead of 32-22 at halftime. They continued with their dominance to finally win the game overall. Here's Spa Proteas head coach Jenny van Dijk.
Really disappointed with our performance today. No excuses will be made. Full accountability will be taken, and to us where we are at and the work that we have put in over the past couple 3 weeks or so doesn't justify a performance like tonight. Everybody will definitely be very disappointed, and but for us, there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And if you're going to play the number 1 and 2 in the world, then you need to brace yourself, because they are definitely not waiting for South Africa to catch up and allowing us to just step in here and take over what they've worked for years and years to achieve. I think to us, the Aussies was just physically dominating on every single level today, and it's definitely very important lessons for us to learn, in the sense of where we are at physically, mentally, and just fitness-wise, So, yeah.
Well, with that said, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
Okay, perfect. I think there's I think with Amajita, you hear, the points about just support from the people. I think it's so important, isn't it?
Absolutely. So we should continue sending through our play well messages.
Okay, got that. Play well, fare well, win well too. Thank you very much. Very important. More sport in an hour.
For the best marine migration, you go to KZN.
For the best hiking trails, you go to the Drakensberg. For the best flower show, you go to Namakwaland. And for the best in investments, go to Nedbank. Earn up to 10.47% interest with the Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. For better returns, open an Electronic Optimum Plus account today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The Warriors are aware they will not get on a flight to the United States, Mexico and Canada, but they are still hungry for victory, while Bafana want to return to the summit of Group C. This is the 2026 FIFA World Cup African qualifier. Be part of the action. Zimbabwe versus South Africa on Friday 10 October at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC2 and SABC Plus. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
To the markets, we certainly go with Paswane Mpatlele, the Senior Accounts Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. Paswane, what have you got?
Afternoon, Ashraf, and to all your listeners. We're looking at, from a macro view, we're looking at markets. Markets continue to price in this K-shaped economic recovery, and this is reflected when you see how the U.S. is being priced in with higher growth and inflation, with rate cuts and AI investment spending rising, health supporting them, while globally there's the implication of stagflation risk rising. We can think of the respective economic challenges and the rising inflation in general from the goods or service cost pressures when you think of the longer route it takes to deliver goods, and the structural shifts when you think of electrification, transition of energy demands. And the better, clearer view of this sentiment is looking at the gold price. It has crossed 4,000 for the first time. It's up 1.5% at $4,041 an ounce, driven by more money flow into it as different investors add on to these worries and add on the fact that the U.S. government continues to be shut down, limiting availability of data at a time where it's less than 3 weeks before the U.S. Fed makes an interest rate decision. We have going concerns around geopolitics. Gold is not the only one enjoying this sentiment. We have PGM prayer metals that are also seeing it. Platinum is enjoying up 2.7% at $1,675 an ounce. Palladium up over 6% at $1,450 an ounce. Meanwhile, oil is just up 0.6 at $66.15 a barrel. It is beneficial for major markets like South Africa. It is overall weaker as demand cannot currently offset the high supply line. All these moves are very beneficial to the South African market. We've seen it through the JSE as it hits another all-time highs. It's up 1.1% thanks to the star player resource sector benefiting from higher commodity prices, up 3%. Industrials is also being beneficial today, up 0.7%. Meanwhile, financials are flat. The likes of the U.S. markets, we're seeing the S&P is up 0.7%. The Nasdaq is up 0.4%. When we bring it into the likes of Europe, the DAX is leading up 0.3%. The FTSE is up 0.5%. CAC is also up 0.9%. On the currency front, despite the dollar doing a rebound like attempt to seen earlier in July, we're seeing the rand is still holding up despite the strength in the dollar, reflecting the money flow into the rand that is still holding and very supportive. Rand sits at 17.15 stronger against the dollar, 19.96 against the euro, and 23.04 against the pound.
Right, perfect. Thanks for that, Paswane Mpatlele, Senior Accounts Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. We'll have a further update in terms of the markets for an hour, in fact, coming from 6 to 7 this evening. A time for me to get to your thoughts on some of the other issues that we touch on, and we'll do that and more after this.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Okay. Understand that proceedings at Parliament in terms of that ad hoc committee has been adjourned. But even so, adjourned or not, we're going to take your calls too. I can tell you as well. Let me just tell you what's coming up. In fact, it's adjourned just for a short while, so we'll hopefully get back to them as well later on. We'll also cross later on to speak to one of the South Africans who were on the flotilla that was, stopped. They were apprehended, they were arrested in Israel and sent back home. We'll speak to one of them, and I'll give you that name as soon as I can. But in the meantime, I need to hear from you. You're on the pulse. Let's hear it.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I just want to have a comment with regards specifically to Julius Malema, how he's conducting that questioning session with General Mkwenazi. I feel like he's conducting it in a very civil way. I'm not a fan of Julius Malema, by the way, but he's been very civil and decent with General Mkhwanazi. And in my opinion, I feel like he's been wanting to speak to General Mkhwanazi and ask him pertinent questions. But it's just my opinion. Then I'll hear in Bryanston.
Well, your opinion matters. Let's say that much. There's more on that. Interesting. Lots of comments from the Malema factor to the MKP line of questioning.
Ashraf, I don't know how the MP of MK Party's Kosana feels when he hears how Mkhwanazi explaining what Zuma was doing to the police during his tenure as the president. Because that guy was given a chance to ask Mkhwanazi questions. But the manner in which he was asking, he was not even asking, he was just politicking. He doesn't know how to ask someone a question. It was just, I don't even know how to explain it. Thanks, Mike and Miss.
Well, I think you have explained in a way. You don't have to explain further about maybe your disappointment or your put down on their lines of questions. And I think, therefore, and I didn't hear all of that, but, here's the point. Parliamentarians, MPs, representatives of political parties must understand that even when they do their work in Parliament, in private and in public, they are a mirror into their party and themselves and how they deliver. So it's a very important way of them communicating to us too. And what we see that works or doesn't work, well, people remember, don't they? Right, you can call in, you know that, 086 000 2032, wherever you may be in South Africa, wherever you may be around the world. Somehow or the other, you are connected, I would think, umbilically to the pulse, to the national pulse. So let's hear from you. You can WhatsApp 0614 104 107, and you can tweet to hashtag the national pulse. Right? This is interesting.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. You know what Mr. Mkhwanazi is doing, General Mkhwanazi is doing? He's creating so many enemies. And please, those in the security or the president must make sure that this guy is protected. They might kill him. Because now there are so many things that is now coming out, like the Mudlulis, where you are supposed to be prosecuted, and then they said, no, don't prosecute him. And also the former president is now included there. There's so many things, which is now creating a can of worms that he has opened there. So please, if it is possible, the president must make sure that he protects that guy, because he can be killed. Sure. It's Jacob from Jamestown.
Thanks for that, Jacob. He's certainly putting himself out there. And, there's always been lots of conversations about the vulnerability of whistleblowers, right? And, the Babita story is obvious. Of course, there are many like that. Athol Williams, for example, is living in the UK and has been living and working there, much against his own wishes, meaning he can't live in this country. And that's something that's not the president or the presidency, but South Africa as an institution has got to get right, or else.
Ashraf, good afternoon, man. This is Flores from the beautiful Winelands. Ashraf, listening to Norman Arends yesterday, asking questions to Mkhwanazi, it made me reminisce about the time with the Hansie Cronje scandal. And yeah, Hansie broke down after he was grilled by Norman Arends. But let me tell you, Mkhwanazi is an oyster. That guy does not shy away from anything. You can come with Bosse and Stomper, he will stand. So yeah, Norman Arends has his work cut out when it comes to Mkhwanazi. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. But you think it's the same? I don't know if it's the same issue. I hear what you're saying. I don't know it's the same issue, because Hansie Cronje was, in fact, he came up and he had to testify, the center of the book, I think it was, on the basis of him being implicated in match fixing. In this case here, Mkhwanazi is not the one implicated. He is making the allegations. It's a very, very different scenario. It really is.
Ashraf and the SFM listener, heads of Mkhwanazi. Mkhwanazi is being interrogated by those people who maybe not qualified. They just coming. Remember, to be the parliamentarian, you just coming from the street. You coming from a certain area, even though you don't have experience, but you'll be into the parliament. They've been interrogating this guy, so he's not going to explain each Dick, Tom, and Harry to each and every one who feel to ask him, just to say like I was asking him the question. They must just leave this guy. I mean, he's already played his part.
Okay, got that. And many people saying the same. Let's get to some of the callers as well. And there's a range of opinions from around the country. Let's get to KG in Bloom. KG, hello.
Thank you so much, Ashraf.
Thank you.
I think watching and listening to the proceedings there yesterday, I don't know what happened to Advocate Norman Arendse, but he came out as very amateurish. And the poor quality of his line of questioning and everything was very disappointing. I had expected a bit more from him. I mean, this small things that were raised by the Honorable of the Red Berets, for instance, the issue of the statement to say he could have they could have changed only the cover page to address that statement to the committee. That is a very simple, basic, common sense thing that I think could have been done by a first yellow student. But otherwise, the proceedings there are very nice. And lastly, congratulations to Malema himself, because I think he's been very mature. You know, his participation there when there's problems, he's giving guidance. He's not being the usual thuggish militant himself. So I think it bodes well for himself otherwise.
Okay, 2 points. Norman, thank you for that. Norman Arendse, and not happy with his line of questions, being rattled, as some may suggest. And then Malema not being his usual, thuggish, police, is that what you said? But he contributed. Well, listen, many people have said when Malema gets it right, he is highly intelligent, and the type of probing questions he puts forward adds value, as has always added value to the South African political landscape. And maybe that's the point for many people to say, if he focuses on that only, just really getting to the nub of issues, he will contribute so much to the development and the building of our country. KG, thank you for that. Zion in Kuruman, hello.
Yes, Ashraf.
Yeah, go for it. Thank you. What's your point?
John Bull in Kuruman.
Yep.
In the Northern Cape.
Thank you.
Ashraf, you know, I don't know what protocol or decorum must we follow. I have written letters to the municipal manager in our area here in Khatsakonyana municipality. I have written letter to director of public works in John Taulo district in public works. I have written letters to HOD Jack McKay of road and public works. Till now, it's almost 50 letters that I have written. Now, what step now must I follow? Even the spokesperson of road and public works nationally, I've written to the letter to them. Is it because Kurumane media are shifting away from Kurumane for reporting things of Kurumane that is happening? Thank you, Ashraf.
Okay. Well, listen, lots of questions, and perhaps somebody who knows more in Kuruman can respond to that. In fact, I'd like to think we can. Well, not me, but somebody who knows, but maybe we can get someone to follow up on that story. Not necessarily today, but I think it's an important point as well. In fact, I'll get to other callers as well, including Sir Prince and Matume, right after this.
We have different languages and cultures, but what we have in common is that we all want a dignified funeral and for our loved ones not to worry about money when the time comes. Trust Clientele to provide you with affordable funeral cover that will pay out within 24 hours. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's SAFM to 48031. SMS now. Clientele Life is a licensed life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates, terms, and conditions apply.
Youth football is on a real vibration in Chile. 24 under-20 national teams are fighting for the ultimate glory. Rally behind African champions, Amachita, including 3 continental representatives, Egypt, Morocco, and Nigeria. This is the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup. Catch the action live on SABC 1, SABC Plus, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, and SABC radio stations from 27 September to 20 October 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
I don't love waking up before the sunrise. I don't love wearing a school uniform.
But I do love learning. I do love saving my mom money on transport and uniforms while I still get a good education. I do love UCT Online High School because I do love my future. Apply online before 28 November.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, more thoughts, more calls from you. I can tell you now, after 5, we'll be chatting to Reverend Chris Nissen, the chairperson of the South African Human Rights Commission, all about the illegal blockades against at healthcare facilities. That's one. And then regarding the flotilla and the activists back in South Africa, we chat to Dr. Fatima Hendricks, who was one of the activists who were detained and then released in Israel and back in South Africa today. So we'll talk to you around 20 past 5. Okay, let's get to Sir Prince in Zanin. Hello, Sir Prince. Sir Prince, hi. You there? No? Okay. Let's move on. Sir Prince, 3, 2, 1.
Yes, how are you?
Oh, I almost counted you out, man. Okay, go for it.
Hear me?
Yeah. You're live. Go for it.
Okay, I was listening to General Mkwanazi.
Yeah.
And I realized that Ashraf, the road is deeper than all South Africans ever thought of. You know, when the men say this is just a tip of an iceberg, I can bring more. If you go to the media tomorrow, then I nearly fainted. So, according to me, I need a reset button, I'm telling you.
Okay, well, I
We
hear
need
you.
to deregister ANC as a political party. We have interim government, and then we start afresh. I'm telling you, Ashraf, this is beyond repair. When they say the car is written off, there is not any good panel beater who can get it right.
What an image. The ANC is like a car written off. No panel beater can get it right.
No panel beater that can get it back to normal, Ashraf. That's what I'm saying. We just need a reset button. Ashraf, if the man can say this is just a piece, when everybody is just shocked, what more if he just bring the real stuff? We will all wake up in hospitals.
Okay, I got that. Prince, you've said what you've said, and I'll leave it to the ANC listening in to say, hey, come on, what's our fight back to that sort of response to say the car must be written off? Matume in Tembisa, hello.
Ashraf, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good indeed. I trust you are well, and what's your point?
Oh, my point, I want to comment on the parliamentary committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said last week or 2 weeks back, I said no wonder if Msholosi tried to stop the Madlanga Commission because he was once our our state president, and that man is South Africa's #1 political survivor. Do you think this time he will ever survive?
Well, it's not for me to say whether he'll survive because that will be passing judgment. I don't know. I think let this thing play out. Let it play out, and let's see what happens. Matume, thank you for that. Right. Let's get to another call. In Kululeko, you're live. What's your point?
No, look, I want to talk about this ad hoc committee with Mkwanazi.
Go for it.
Yes, I honestly do not think they are doing any justice towards this man, because you can even see from the live videos you are watching throughout the day, he's tired of explaining himself over and over again. And then I honestly believe he's at a point whereby he thinks there's no justice, which will be done after the inquiry and the ad hoc committee.
So, when you say they're not doing justice, what should they be doing then? I mean, what are they not doing?
I'm thinking from the evidence he has. From the evidence he has, what Parliament would have done is that to say, but let's open a case. As much as we have said today that he has a case opened, and that he's a complainant on the case, they should have let that happen, so that we can see justice unfolding as things go on. But now you are asking him the same questions. They are asking him the same questions over and over and over and over.
Okay.
And then he's really getting tired. You can see from himself. He's
I don't know if he's getting tired. I just think he just knows he's in for a long haul here. I mean,
no, you must check even tomorrow. You must look at the posture from from the press briefing up until now. You must look. He is tired. He's explaining himself about the same thing over
All right.
and over.
When he does, I'll think about you. I promise you. Nkululeko, thank you seriously.
Please, Ashraf.
Thank you very much.
Ashraf.
Right. So talking about that and being tired, how's this?
Good afternoon, SAFM and the fellow listeners. Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, what a man. Can we clone him? Can we duplicate him? Can we multiply him? We need men of his caliber to stand up, men of integrity, who are not afraid of anyone. We need such people. Oh, the media, the corrupt journalists. We have been seeing you. You've been hiding. Now, the truth is gonna come out. No one is untouchable in this country.
Raish, well, I hope everybody agrees with you. In fact, many people say there are far too many people untouchable up to now. That must change.
Ashraf, remember when Bachavile Dlamini said that all of them there by the ANC have got their smaller skeletons now, smaller skeletons. Yeah, seems like now the Holy Spirit has blown into those skeletons now. All those skeletons are coming back to life now. Hey, the Lord.
Aye, that took a while, but I get your points. Right, here's another.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the SAFM listeners. Now that Ashraf, the Home Affairs Minister, has extended this ATP again with another 18 months, can anyone tell us what we must do now from the UIF, which is refusing to process our claims, saying that your permits has expired? So does that mean our money is going to vanish in air, which we contributed, some of us, for 15 years to the UIF coffers? Thanks, James Jones.
All right, James, follow up, points note, get Temba and Keys to just make a note of that and follow up on that story. Here's another.
Aye, while it's true that MK Party's Skosana gave a poor showing today, but to introduce the Zuma name under the carpet as if there was any wrongdoing on his part is quite low. Remember, Mkhwanazi went to Zuma to say he cannot work with the minister. At the time, the DA, the Kolabanas of this world, had their daggers out from Mkhwanazi, threatening to bring him to court on Zuma's back to get rid of him because of his age, his rank, and his inexperience. And he was acting. He was not appointed permanently. When Mkhwanazi offered to resign, what did you expect Zuma to do in an acting position with all his DA daggers on his back?
Okay, you, as many people have done, are very thought-provoking in terms of your, analysis, observations, and then what you put forward in terms of your hypothesis, right? Okay, let's get to the news. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Ondela.
Good afternoon, Ashraf Grechos here with your latest news. In this news update, Mthethwa to receive an official funeral and record drop in crossings of the US-Mexico border. Good day to you. South Africa's late ambassador to France, Nadia Mthethwa, will receive an official Category 2 funeral. The announcement was made by the KwaZulu-Natal Premier, Thami Ntuli, during a visit to the Mthethwa homestead at KwaMbunambi on the KZN North Coast. He was accompanied by MECs and mayors. Mthethwa died after falling from the 22nd floor of a hotel in Paris last week. The family says plans to hold the funeral on Sunday are subject to change pending the finalization of the repatriation process from France. Ntuli elaborates.
He served our country diligently, with humility, and we are happy, in fact, to report that the President of the Republic, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, has declared the funeral as the state funeral, a Category 2 state funeral. Also, in the Cabinet of KwaZulu-Natal today, we were considering the communique. As a result, there is now a task team that comprises of national government and also the provincial government and other levels of government that is supposed to make preparations.
President of the Minerals Council, SA, Paul Dunn, has argued that the high cost of electricity is eroding the competitive advantage of the local mining industry. He says deregulating the electricity grid to allow for the participation of more grid suppliers will help cut the cost of energy. Dunn addressed delegates at the Joburg Mining Indaba in Sandton, north of Johannesburg.
The mining industry has been severely constrained during the past 3 decades by regulatory uncertainty, weak administrative processes, unnecessary delays in licensing authorizations, as well as the severe repercussions that state capture has had on electricity supply and cost, and rail and port disruption. The mining industry has enormous untapped potential in the minerals that we already mine, and also the minerals of the future.
The KZN Police Commissioner, Nhlahla Mkhwanazi, says he's concerned about the safety of the crime intelligence team based in Gauteng, who are probing criminal syndicates. He's been testifying for the second day before Parliament's ad hoc committee, looking into concerns about national security. Yesterday, Mkhwanazi's evidence was led by evidence leader, Advocate Norman Arendse, and today he's facing questions from members of the committee. He says he's not worried about the safety of those on the political killings task team, but rather the crime intelligence team in Gauteng.
Why do I say that? Because they were put in a safe house to operate from. The member of this house, together with others, they publish the photos of that house in the media. So therefore, their working place is compromised. The members that are operating the driving vehicles, those vehicles have been exposed in public. And I believe in some degree, maybe even the names of the members might be known. And their safety for me is a concern.
The defence in the murder trial at the High Court in Polokwane of a Limpopo pig farmer and his co-accused has been cross-examining the first witness, Lahuma Matiba. Defence counsel asked Matiba if Mabuta Ngube had given her information about the whereabouts of the people he was with when he was attacked on the farm. Ngube is a survivor of a shooting incident that allegedly occurred at the farm in August last year. Matiba earlier testified that Ngube had told her that he was attacked, along with his partner and another woman. U.S. federal figures show that irregular crossings at the U.S.-Mexico border have fallen to their lowest level in 55 years. The figures show that in the fiscal year 2025, U.S. Border Patrol agents stopped 238,000 migrants. The figures indicate that during President Donald Trump's first 8 months in office, there were fewer than 9,000 irregular crossings recorded each month. The BBC's Mimi Swabi has more.
The significant drop has been brought about by strict policies at the border and within the country. Mr. Trump has militarized parts of the frontier, closed down the asylum system, and stopped releasing detained migrants into the U.S. interior. Instead, they are quickly deported or held in detention centres while their cases are reviewed. There's also been an aggressive crackdown by immigration and customs enforcement.
Top story: South Africa's late ambassador to France, Natim Tetwa, will receive an official Category 2 funeral. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Hoos.
In sports, Amajita target quarterfinals at Under-20 World Cup, and in the business of sport, we discuss how do sports federations make money and which surprising one makes the most. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in Houghton Estate has a crash reported before Glenhove Road. The N1 southbound in four ways queuing towards Winnie Mandela Drive, and the N12 eastbound in Germiston, a stationary vehicle reported at Chet Park Road. In KZN, the N2 northbound, a crash reported after Spaghetti Junction, Chris Hani Road westbound, queuing at the N2 highway. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound, a stationary vehicle at Durban Road. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound has a stationary vehicle reported at Hospital Bend, and Main Road northbound slow moving through Muizenberg. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Amavubi have a big plan to finish as high as possible in Group C. However, Bafana Hugo believe nothing will stop them from collecting 3 points. This is the 2026 FIFA World Cup African qualifier. Catch South Africa versus Rwanda on Tuesday, 14 October at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC3, SABC Plus, and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Great news, travelers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Hoedspruit 3 times a week. So, whether you want to chase the Big Five in Kruger, soak up the views at God's Window, or wind through the beautiful panorama route, Hoedspruit is the perfect launch pad to some of SA's amazing natural treasures. Ready to go from coastlines to canyons in just a few clicks? Book flights now at flysafair.co.za from just 1,570 Rand. FlySafair, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, we'll be chatting later on to Dr. Fatima Hendricks, member of that Global Samud Flotilla, who, after being apprehended, detained, arrested, then sent home from Israel yesterday, now arriving in South Africa today. We'll talk to you at about 5:20. But for now, this is such an important issue too. The South African Human Rights Commission has taken legal action against the unlawful denial, and these are key words, the unlawful denial of non-South Africans and undocumented migrants or immigrants from accessing and receiving medical treatment at public health facilities. This as they attempt to deal with numerous complaints and incidents of illegal blockades at healthcare facilities. It's been ongoing, isn't it? Reverend Chris Nissen with me, chairperson of the South African Human Rights Commission. Reverend Nissen, appreciate you connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Wassalamu alaikum.
Yeah, hello.
It's a long time that I haven't spoken to you, but greetings to you and the listeners of SFM.
Peace certainly to you as well. It's been a very, very long time, but yet we talk at a time of huge concern. So there has been, ongoing activity and activism from groupings who have put a stop in many ways, whichever way they can, to ensuring that South African foreign nationals in this case here receiving some form of medical treatment. There's also been the counter to that, which to say that the law does allow that they must be treated, and there's been a further conversation that in fact they must be treated for emergencies only. So where does the South African Human Rights Commission fit into this? You've issued a statement about it. Tell me more.
Ashraf and listeners to SFM, thank you so much for this cooperation with the Commission. Let me say that the preamble of the Constitution is very clear. If you look at the preamble of the Constitution, is that all people who live in South Africa, rights must be protected. And our Commission's Act is clear that all who live in South Africa, in the Republic of South Africa, we need to protect the rights of people, all who live in South Africa. Let me make 3 points. First of all, the undocumented people from South Africans that live in rural areas, whose mother and the subsequent child has never been registered. So they're also undocumented. Secondly, we have a health crisis in this country, in the sense that if you look at how many hospitals and clinics where people have to sleep on the floor, that they have to give birth on the floor, and where people have been slapped. And then lastly, where people have to wait from 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning for access to health. And then the doctor's not available after 3. I get those every day. So, first of all, as of the Human Rights Commission, we deal with the issues of health, which is important for us. Whether it's South Africans, whoever, we deal with that in the first instance. the second instance, our borders. We don't have borders. And so border management and then the Home Affairs need to deal with these issues. We are at the last end that we have to deal with defending everybody's rights in this country. And that's who we are. We're defending everybody's rights in the country.
All right. I'll tell you what, Reverend Nissen, we're just struggling to hear you for the moment. So let me just put you back to Intabiseng. Let's see if we can reconnect you and get you back, because I think what we need to hear from you is really, really important. Okay. In the meantime, as we do just that, a reminder, we'll take your calls as well, as always, on the biggest issues that have moved the national pulse, or the nation's pulse today. 086 000 2032, and then WhatsApp text messages, 30 seconds, please. 0614 104 107, and you can send us that's voice notes and text messages too. You can also tweet using that hashtag, the National Pulse. So three things comes to mind. Clearly the big issue around the Parliament's ad hoc committee is a major issue dominating the headlines. The other, of course, the flotilla, the South Africans who've now been released from Israel, they've landed. What do you make of all of that? Some of the big lessons learned out of all of that. And then thirdly, that issue about education and the educator aids in terms of not getting paid, and this whole gremlin. You've heard us speak to the Minister of Basic Education about that. You may pick up on that, or in fact even anything else beyond that too. You're welcome. Let's get back then to Reverend Chris Nissen, the chairperson of the South African Human Rights Commission. Hopefully a better line this time. You were saying?
Sorry about that, Ashraf. Just repeat your question.
We were asking you about, so what then is the position in terms of the statement released by the South African Human Rights Commission? What is your position regarding the activism around blockades at healthcare facilities, preventing foreign nationals from using these facilities?
No, we're very clear, Ashraf. I'm sorry we missed the earlier part. We're very clear. The Act is very clear. That our Act, that we must support and defend every person living in the Republic of South Africa. The preamble of our Constitution makes that very clear. We have been working very hard around the clock in every province to ensure that health facilities be available to everyone in this country, particularly South Africans. And I've received many calls across the country where people are saying to me from rural areas, from urban areas, how they're being treated in hospitals. So the issue is that we really need to say that we need to make sure that everybody is treated equally and the same. But no South African must be turned away from a hospital or a clinic. And I've received many of those complaints. And so I'm saying, yes, we do understand where this question comes from. And we are going to court on Friday.
You're going to court on Friday, and in terms of going to court, what would be the position you take? That means in terms of the actual charge to defend the position or to take action.
Our prayer to the Honourable Justice will be, A, respect the Constitution. Our Act is very clear. At the same time, we are saying, look at the health system in this country. 4 is that we say any organization has got no right to deny anybody access to health care. Nobody has got that right. And then also lastly, you can protest, but don't intimidate. Don't be rude. Don't insult people. But the most important thing is the South African Human Rights Commission has, in the last financial year, received 7,500 complaints from South Africa. We've dealt with it. As we speak, in the Northern Cape, Commissioner Kwinana and Commissioner Bosso are running a inquiry with regard to socioeconomic rights, water sanitation, etc.
All right. Now, let me then just jump in here. And I hear what you're saying, and I know what the position is, and you've referenced the Constitution, and I think we all hear that. But the reality is there are many, activist groups who have prevented foreign nationals from actually access to healthcare. And it seems like, never mind what your intentions may be and what the law says, that if they choose to prevent foreign nationals to use those facilities, then that's what's going to happen. Meaning that it appears that whether it's the hospital or medical facilities or others, that it appears that if the numbers are big enough to prevent people from entering and receiving the healthcare treatment, then in fact those facilities, the medical ones, are powerless.
But Ashraf, let's start from the beginning. We've got no borders. And border management does not stop whoever comes from it, because the South African government has made a decision not to have camps. We're the only country on the continent that don't have camps, where people come and integrate. Whether it's a mistake or not, I'm the same. So, but we don't have borders. If you walk with me to the borders, you'll be surprised. So there's a border management. They need to take responsibility. Second,
all right, I hear that, right? And I need to move on very quickly. I hear that part. And that's an ongoing issue around home affairs and the borders that you mentioned. But in terms of the immediate term, right, if activists prevent foreign nationals from getting treatment, never mind that it's illegal, it's happening at the moment, what can and should be done about it?
That's why we are going to court. That's why we're on Friday in court, to say that in terms of our act, we'll do our prayer to the court to say, our act is saying, unless we change the act and the Constitution, we are saying we need to protect everybody who is in the Republic of South Africa. Now, that is very, very, I've get so many insults on that. Because they say you're doing A, B, C, D. But that's the act. I cannot go against the act. Okay. However, I'm saying also to Home Affairs, Border Management, and also to South African Police Services, can you please do your job? Because in the end, we end up with the problem.
Okay.
But in the meantime, we as the Human Rights Commission need to act within the confines of our act. The Constitution says we need to protect, monitor, and advance the rights of people.
All right, point made. That's where we're going to leave it. As you said, just please do your job. Reverend Chris Nissen, chairperson of the South African Human Rights Commission. Right, talking about doing your job. What about a mission to Gaza that gets stopped short before you get there? We chat to Dr. Fatima Hendricks about it after this.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy? Good luck. But day by day, somehow it grew. You became payroll, procurement, PR, and pressure valve. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. What's that saying again? What doesn't kill your business makes it stronger? Or at least it should be that. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
Power, land, loyalty, blood. In the heart of Montana, the fight for the Dutton Ranch is far from over. Betrayals cut deep, enemies close in, and every choice could be their last. Yellowstone, Season 4, where family is everything and nothing is off limits. every Tuesday starting September 2nd at 7 p.m. only on S3. S3, open up.
At Anglo American, we mine more than minerals. We mine possibility and progress with purpose. For over a century, we have been part of South Africa's story, investing in our country's potential and unlocking opportunities together. This year alone, through our Kumba iron ore business, we've invested 25.9 billion rand into South Africa. This includes infrastructure development, education and healthcare, community upliftment, and more. Follow us on our social media channels, Anglo American South Africa, and join the conversation. Anglo American, mining potential, building beyond.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
All right, this has certainly been an issue that's captured the global imagination. We've had October 7th, where there's been people who've been killed in what is called Israel. There's been a reprisal, but the scale of it has been massive, to the point of 50,000-60,000 people dying, but many others starving to death in terms of a very intended famine. And therefore, there's been global condemnation in calling it a genocide. I'm talking about in Israel, right? Or Israel perpetrating that against the people of Palestine. Now, having said that, there's been a global form of activism to try and create pressure on that, but also to provide relief for those people who need the relief in the Gaza region of Palestine. Amongst those people were, I think, 7 or 8 South Africans initially, but 5 finally got onto the boats heading to Gaza. One of them is Dr. Fatima Hendricks, who then we know they were all detained, they were apprehended, detained, and then released finally, and they arrived back in South Africa today. So let's get her story. And understand what actually happened and the mission. Dr. Hendricks, appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us here on the National Pulse.
Thank you so much, Ashraf, and greetings to all of the listeners.
Much appreciated. I was just thinking on the flight home, or when you were detained up till yesterday or so, and of course the hope would be that you would get home soon. And now, of course, you're doing an interview with me. What were you thinking that when you come home, what will you tell the people of South Africa about your experience?
I think that's a really important question, and it really talks to people's power. If anything, this global Samud flotilla was a people's flotilla, with the people, by the people, in loving solidarity with the Palestinian people in Gaza. And what we've seen is mobilization from over 44 countries around the world, with everyday people mobilizing to say that we need to break the siege in the largest flotilla in the 38th attempt at breaking the siege. So we've seen how ordinary people from around the world can mobilize and be change agents, and really talk to governments and say, when you fail, and you have failed over the past 2 years and longer, we will not sit back, and we will mobilize and act because you failed to act.
Is that the overall premise, that in fact there's a siege, and therefore there are people who can't receive the most basic healthcare and foods in that part of, I'd say, Gaza, part of Greater Palestine, and that you felt, people like yourself felt, that in fact the governments of the world are doing nothing about it, and therefore you, as the activist, felt that you can do better. Now, if that's the case, why then did you think you would succeed, against the might of the Israeli military in this case?
Well, look, it's the movement is a movement that began in 2005. We were the 38th attempt to break the illegal siege of Gaza. And this morning, the 39th attempt was also intercepted. And the people have resoundingly said around the world that this immoral and illegal siege must end, and that the people of Gaza need to receive an aid corridor that is sustainable, because we carry baby formula, we carry medication and food supplies. And we've all seen the starvation, the mass forced displacement, the disablement, the disease, and the domicide, etc., that has been unfolding.
Tell us about the time. I mean, we've been following the story from the boats from Spain and then Tunisia and then heading to Gaza, right? But, okay, that we know. Tell us the story from the moment that, as you were on one of the flotillas, something changed, right? So what happened then?
So one of the noticeable things is that the Israeli occupying forces, this occupying power, this illegal power, has exerted every sort of pressure to act against the civilian flotilla. In Tunisia, we were bombed twice, 2 nights in succession. When we were in Greece, our flotilla was bombed and attacked in different ways. There were 14 attacks. And then we all know that although we started with about 70 boats, at the end, 47 and all the boats were intercepted by means of attacks on the boats, with water attacks, with encircling, with illegal boarding, and taking us hostage, stealing our boats and stealing our aid, and redirecting us from our intended destination of Gaza to a hostage situation by taking us to Israel unlawfully in international waters against our will, and then detaining us in Israeli prisons for days, with humanitarians and activists and ordinary people from around the world being held there against our will, without consular services and legal representation, with us having to really, mobilize and attend these our trials. For example, my own trial, the very first time that I got to see a lawyer was at my trial, meeting the lawyer for the very first time when they were in front of the judge.
Okay, so and interesting. You use the word hostage maybe 2-3 times now. It's a particularly loaded word considering what has happened with Israeli nationals being held hostage by Hamas and this ongoing discussion around that. Are you explain that? Why would you feel that you and the others were hostages?
Well, we were illegally kidnapped, abducted from international waters. We have a legal right to sail in international waters, to deliver aid, humanitarian aid, to the people in Gaza. Gaza was our destination. We were taken against our will and taken to a destination against our will, which was occupied, which was Israel, and held there without cause of why we were there.
Okay. And when you were charged, you said you had your legal representation for the very first time at the court. What were you charged for?
We were charged for illegally entering Israel and breaking their so-called military zone, of entering their military zone in their what they claim to be waters of Israel. And this is false, because our destination was not Israel. We were captured. Our boat, for example, was captured 40 miles outside, away from Gaza, in international waters.
All right, let's move on very quickly. We're on to news time. In terms of that, so you were charged. Were you found guilty?
A decision letter was not issued. And so all we were told, and many others, was that we would be deported.
Okay.
And so we never got to see a decision letter.
All right. Just the last thing, and upon reflection, would you say that if the purpose was to provide relief, to break the siege, that the flotilla, A, failed or succeeded in its mission?
This is part of a long journey. I think success upon success in this is cumulative, in that there has been global awareness and highlighting the plight of the Palestinian people, and the movement has grown in leaps and bounds, and we will not stop until a corridor of aid is opened and sustained.
Okay, we leave it at that. I'm sure there'll be further human stories about just the actual treatment in while being imprisoned with yourself and others. But I think most South Africans glad to see you home and safe at that. Thank you for your time. That's Dr. Fatima Hendricks, one of the 5 South Africans who were detained, charged, and then released, and now back home in South Africa today. Here's the news headlines with Greg Host.
Quick look at the headlines. The KZN Police Commissioner has told MPs if he's allowed to testify in camera, he'll be able to share explosive information about judges. South Africa's late ambassador to France, Nadim Tete, will receive an official Category 2 funeral. And US President Donald Trump's top aides and senior officials from both Egypt and Qatar have joined the third day of talks between Israel and Hamas on ending the conflict in Gaza. There's a full update at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Pretoria, slow moving towards Rigel Avenue. The R21 northbound in Kempton Park, a stationary vehicle at Voortrekker Road. The N1 southbound in Midrand, a stationary vehicle at Buccleuch Interchange. And Christian de Wet Road southbound in Kloofendal is where a crash is reported near Wilgeroot Road. In KZN, the M1 Higginson Highway westbound, slow moving towards Chatsworth exit. The M4 northbound, queuing towards the Broadway Durban North exit. The N3 is queuing on the link to the N2 North at Spaghetti Junction. And the N2 northbound is where a crash is reported after Spaghetti Junction. In Cape Town, the N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive southbound, slow moving through Epping. The N1 outbound, a stationary vehicle at Durban Road, Jan Smuts Drive southbound, slow moving through Athlone, and Marine Drive outbound, queuing towards Boundary Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkgabele.
It's we've had 2 rounds of Amajita. What do we have in the third round?
Yes, we're still talking Amajita. The SA Under-20 men's football team will be looking to make history by beating Colombia today to advance to the Under-20 World Cup quarterfinals in Chile. On Sunday, Amajita beat USA 2-1 to reach the knockout stages for the first time, also managing to win more than one game at the tournament for the first time. And the winner tonight is going to face Spain next, and kickoff for this game is at 9:30. Meanwhile, Cristiano Ronaldo has become football's first billionaire player. This is according to media firm Bloomberg. The Bloomberg Billionaires Index basically tracks the world's richest people based on their net worth and has measured the 40-year-old and Al Nassr striker's wealth for the first time. The valuation takes into account the career earnings, investments and endorsements. And according to Bloomberg, Ronaldo's net worth is around $1.4 billion, which is around 24 billion rand. If you didn't know, now you know. Let's get straight into the business.
The very first billion-dollar
footballer.
Okay, got that. Let's talk sport. Let's talk money sport.
Yeah, let's get into the business of sport.
The business of sports with Tumi Nkgabele.
Righty, in terms of the business of sports today, we're looking at how federations are making their money. As per usual, we're talking to the founder of Cash and Sport, Nqobile Ndlovu. A very good afternoon to you, Nqobile. Let's start off with what are the 3 top earning sports federations in the country?
Good evening, Tumi. The 3 top earning sports federations in the country, and I split football in 2 because SAFA and the PSL kind of operate separately. But they are in order. The PSL making just over 1 billion rand, SA Rugby making 1.5 billion rand in 2024, and Cricket South Africa with the highest revenue of the lot, making 1.89 billion rand in 2024.
Sure. But then in terms of cricket, it seems like cricket earns more than everybody else?
Yes, that's correct. For some people it may seem strange, but cricket operates in a very different way. They operate in a cyclical manner. When India or Australia or England come here, it dramatically impacts their revenue and it impacts it positively. So they generated 1.1 billion rand in broadcast revenue last year because of the incoming India tour. And of their 1.8 billion rand, over 1 billion of it came from broadcast rights from the India tour. So that's why they generated so much more money than everybody else. But it will drop dramatically for 2025 because there was no incoming tour this year.
But then one would usually expect football to be the one that earns more. And obviously football is so big in the country and is one of the most supported. Why doesn't it generate as much revenue?
There's a few factors. Football is the biggest sport in the country in terms of attendance, viewership, audience, all of those metrics. But the big factor is LSM, or essentially the earning potential of the audience. One. The second big factor is where matches are broadcast. The reason why rugby and cricket are able to generate a lot of revenue is because they get international viewers. So when they go and they play, when New Zealand come to South Africa, when Australia come to South Africa, etc., those broadcasters from those countries pay in dollars, pounds, and euros to broadcast those matches, and that equates to a lot more revenue. But still, regardless of that, football in this country has so much volume and is active 9 months of the year. It should be generating more revenue regardless because of the pure volume.
Yeah.
And I think that given the fact that it's a World Cup year and we've got more South African teams now also starting to play in Champions League football, etc., we will start to see more revenue coming into football because football in this country, I think, is starting to recover, and brands are now also starting to see the potential of football in terms of being able to reach larger audiences.
Yeah, I was actually about to say perhaps if more South African teams are competing in the CAF competitions, it will somehow raise our profile.
Yeah, I think South African football is on the up and up. As for rugby and cricket, I think they've had a very good rise. Rugby since 2018, cricket has done very well, but I think cricket revenue will decline sharply for the next couple of years because of the no incoming tours, but they will benefit from hosting the World Cup in 2027.
Of course. Thank you very much, Nqobile Ndlovu, that is the founder of Cash and Sport, and we're just talking about how different federations in the country are making money. One thing that I found interesting with him saying that he separates SAFA and PSL because they basically just function independently.
But they are. The SAFA is the national team, and the PSL is the professional arm of it, and therefore Ivan Khoza is the head of the PSL. They get huge sponsorship, right?
They do.
I think now there is, and the national team is completely different. But in rugby, the model is very different, where I think players are franchised through the provinces to the national team. It's not the same in It's not the same in football around the world.
SAFA is actually supposed to be the federation in the country.
I think not just that the model is very different.
It is.
In football around the world. So even a club like Real Madrid or say Bayern Munich, that their contract is with the club. Whereas in rugby, I would think, and maybe the same with cricket, it's with the province, but then the country gives them a central contract when they play for their country. It's a very, very different model.
Yeah.
But central to all of that is TV rights, which is what he alluded to when he spoke about India. TV rights boosts the income because of the global audience. So the audience at the grounds is in many ways less important than the eyes that are glued to the TV sets or mobile phones these days. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's it. It is a wrap from my side. Ke nna Tumi Nkgapele, Mudi Mugyo.
Bafana clash with neighbors Zimbabwe in a FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifier at the Moses Mabhida Stadium on Friday, the 10th of October 2025 at 6 p.m. Tickets are now available nationwide and online at all Ticket Pro outlets, including Spar, Postnet, and all petrol stations. Fill up Mabhida to push Bafana to qualify. Bafana supporters, bring the noise at eThekwini, and gates will open at 3 p.m. If you're not in Durban, wear your Bafana Friday gear and catch the game on SABC2. For more info, visit safa.net and at Bafana on all social media platforms.
This October month, SAFM focuses on cybersecurity awareness. As we live more of our lives online, staying safe in the digital world has never been more important. From spotting cyber threats to protecting your personal data, SAFM brings you the conversations that empower you to stay secure. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Yeah, and the SAFM market update happens from 6 to 7, every evening, including today. Jimmy, what have you got on the show today?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. We're going to be taking a look at the latest proposal that was put forward earlier in the week by the African National Congress in the form of that economic plan that the president had spoken to, announcing that the government of national unity would be required to implement the ANC's economic plan. We're going to speak to the team at Oxford Economics Africa and get their thoughts around the viability of this economic plan and whether or not it will benefit South Africans. We're also going to have a conversation with the team at Westpac. They have informed us that they're taking a different approach with their business model. They are going the full franchise model. We're going to speak to them around that and get a sense of what has prompted that and what that means for those that have always dreamed of owning a Westpac franchise. Then we've got a conversation with the chairman of the Joburg Mining Indaba around that Indaba that kicked off today. We're going to get a sense of what to expect from that, especially in the context of where the mining industry stands at the moment. And then we've got a conversation with the team at Allan Gray, taking a look at investing in precious metals as they continue to find some form of favor within the markets. And then we've got an executive lounge feature on a Wednesday, so we're going to speak to the Chief Executive Officer of Discovery Insure, that is Robert Atwell. We're going to get to know him a little bit better beyond his day-to-day responsibilities and see what he does for fun. Before we get to those conversations, I'd just like to report back that yesterday I did go out and put my head on the block around the gold price tapping above the $4,000 an ounce mark, and I'm pleased to say that I still have my head intact because I wasn't wrong and we did go above that $4,000 fine ounce level. We're currently at $4,047 a fine ounce. On the price of Brent crude, $66.01 a barrel. On the price of platinum, we're almost at $1,700 a fine ounce there. Palladium is heading for $1,500. It's at $1,480 a fine ounce. So on the commodities front, everything looking exceptionally positive. The resource counters as a result are up 3.7% on the day's trade if they weren't high enough already. Industrials up 0.2%, financials up 0.5% as a result. The all share 1.4% to the green. The top 40, 1.5% to the green. The rand against the dollar strengthening even below that 17 rand 20 level we'd been sitting around. We're at 17 rand 15 at the moment. I think 17 rand might be broken soon. That's going to likely be my next prediction. I will look at the rand chart and I'll come back to you as to when I think that might happen. But for now, gaining ground against all of the major currencies. Against the British pound, 22 rand 99. So we're back below 23 rand against the British pound. We're back below 20 rand against the euro at 19 rand 92. We're at 11 rand 29 against the Australian dollar. So the rand strengthening against all major currencies, and the resource counters coming to the party there. So our equity markets doing well. If we look at international equity markets, they were a bit of a mixed bag in the case of Asian markets, with the Shanghai markets, the only markets finishing in the green, about 0.5%. Tokyo was down, Hong Kong was down, and Sydney was down. European markets all in the green on the other hand. The CAC in France up about 1%. Germany's DAX almost 1%, up about 0.93% there. And the FTSE in London 0.2% to the green. The Nasdaq up 0.75% or so at the moment. The S&P up almost 0.5%, and the Dow almost 1/3% to the green. So US markets all in the green as they continue to trade into the evening. Before we go, quick look at Bitcoin. $122,000 a Bitcoin, or in rand terms, 2.1 million rand. That stronger rand coming to the party there, but the Bitcoin price moving back above $120,000 there. So that's back at 2.1 million rand. We're going to be taking a look at these and other market movements a little later on with Viv Govender of Rand Swiss. He'll join me on markets to get a sense of just perhaps where we go from here with all of the uncertainties that continue to persist, but also the positives that we're seeing in the markets. There's a lot that can be said around what investors might be looking at and might be finding attractive. But of course, that conversation comes up after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
All right, perfect. Enjoy your show, 6 to 7. Time for your calls, and wherever you may be around the country. Talk about issues, talk about the flotilla, if you're up for that, and the conversation we've just had with the guest, Dr. Fatima Hendricks, the previous conversation with the chairperson of the South African Human Rights Commission. Do you get a sense that they're pretty helpless no matter what they say about the borders need to be fixed? But I mean, how do you enforce? Because it's not being enforced at this point in time in terms of the porous borders. But then the ongoing conversation around the Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating corruption, feel up for that as well. Richards Bay is where we go first up. Tonti, hi. Tonti, hello.
Tonti from Richards Bay, yes.
Yes, hello. You're live. Go for it.
Yes, you know the earlier chat we were chatting on Malema.
Yeah.
Yes. And we always gave him funny names. And I was one of the guys that gave him funny names. I called him a delinquent. I called him a nuthead. Well, he's changed my mind from last night to today. He is a very mature person. And for me, going forward, I'm going to be his flag man. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. You're very clear. I want to be his flag man.
Yeah, and then I'm just hoping that Nkwazi can brighten up the NPA to go after these delinquents and crooks and thieves and the corruptive guys, you know. What Zondo couldn't do, I'm hoping this guy can do. Well, it'll be better for South Africa. At the moment, things are crashing now.
Okay.
Don't you, Richards Bay. And thank you, Ash. Beautiful programs, SAFM.
You're being our flagman too. Thank you for that, Tonti. Much appreciate your time here, and thanks for listening and joining in on the National Pulse. Well, wherever you are, Richards Bay, Johannesburg, Pretoria, Polokwane, all around the country, we've literally got you covered. You know that. In fact, all around the world, we've got you covered. You can listen to us from streaming live audio, and then check up on the YouTube as well. Go to SAFM on YouTube. You will find us too and catch the whole show. Space in KZN. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, you're live. What's your point?
Yeah, my point is I just want clarity, my friend, from as to the police fall under the jurisdiction. I'm driving towards the Zondo Commission.
Sure.
I'm not sure whether
We are
I'm
so-
the right
Yo, we are so struggling to hear you, man. Yo, I'm so sorry. We are absolutely struggling to pick up what you said. Maybe send a voice note if you can. Let's see if we can pick it up on that, because at the moment we're just completely struggling. I'm sorry for that. Let's take more calls on the issue, and a lot of it. Well, Tim says, Ashraf, Flotilla, a bunch of no good drama queens, pathetic individuals, give me a break. Another, Ashraf, good day. Government should have kept the influx control method. Why can't they implement it again from Terence? Then let's go back to the Malema story.
Afternoon, Ashraf. I think this guy, Malema, I think is doing a very good job. You know, the experience he have, it can show that this guy can be a leader. You know, the system that is using to ask questions to our Mkwanazi, I think it's a good ones, and it's a normal questions, good ones. Man, we thank him for those.
Okay, good questions is what you say. In fact, I mean, I said so earlier on, right? Whether it's Malema, whether it's the MK party, whoever they may be, the ANC members too, when you are in that committee, you're an MP, you represent an interest group, but you also represent the party and the country. And from a party point of view in particular, all of us are watching, and we are forming opinions about you and your party on the basis of how you come across. So those that impress people enough to carry their flag, as we've heard earlier on, isn't it? Right, what about healthcare supplies?
Hi, Joe Durban. Lessons being learned. One, we're not ready for NHS. We can't look after simple hospitals, stock linen, prevent theft. Tembisa is just a microcosm of the bigger picture. How are we possibly going to manage NHS can't manage the road accident fund, the UIF, the workman's compensation, and NHS is bigger than all of them combined. Lessons from the flotilla. The Israelis are not interested in peace. They're not interested in ending the starvation and the siege. And the excuses I hear from them remind me of the same excuses that used to come out of nationalists in the 1960s and 70s, and the propaganda we had to see overseas about black South Africans in the ANC. No different, same racist policies.
Got that. In fact, someone made the point to say, my question, did they succeed or did they not succeed in breaking the siege? So the fact that they didn't succeed in delivering and therefore breaking the siege, was that a failure? But the other said that, in fact, that just the global flotilla, and it's so widespread in terms of people across nationalities, well beyond traditional global south, if you get my point, has proven in this case here that it is managed to put the siege on this global center stage, and in fact could well be the pace setter that politicians of other countries must follow versus the other way around. And I think the increased recognition of Palestine as a state is an example of that. So in that sense, the point made is that they've succeeded. no matter what you may think about that. This is the National Pulse.
SAFM's Meeting Point invites you to join Koketso Sachane for a roundtable dialogue on the crime and gangsterism plaguing the Cape Flats. Join us at the SABC1's M1 studios in Cape Town, where Koketso, together with guests, unpack the crisis and asks how we can make our communities safer. Tune in to the Meeting Point with Koketso Sachane on Wednesday, the 8th of October, as we unpack this critical conversation. To be part of the studio audience, email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
This summer, the continent unites for the biggest football showdown in Africa. The Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025 is coming to your screens, live and available on SABC TV channels, SABC Sport, SABC Plus, and across your favorite SABC radio stations. Catch all 52 thrilling matches, stand behind Bafana Bafana, and experience every goal, every cheer, and every victory from 21 December 2025 to 18 January 2026. SABC Sport brings you all the AFCON 2025 action, live and free, because it's game on everywhere.
For the love of the game.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, we get to further calls, and I did say we crisscross the country every single day and the globe. People listening in via streaming live and YouTube too. And podcasts, you can catch them at safm.co.za. Right, we go to Hitler. I mean that, in Boshoff. Hello. Hi, Hitler.
Good evening, Ashraf. Ashraf, I'm not going to be long. Mbuli, in one of his poems, he says, the demons against genuine peace should also remember that even in the jungle, there are those who hunt the hunters. United Nations, how long and how many more must die? We have observed brutal murders and massacres of my people in my land. How many more and how long? How long? How long? That's what Nkaka Mkhwana is saying. Evening to you, I rest my case.
Okay, you do rest your case. Thanks for that, Hitler. Matitai from East London. Malema center stage today. Go for it.
Mr. Ashraf, you see, I am not hating Malema now. But even though people, they can compliment him as much, Malema is the reason why we are here. And I'm so quite disappointed for being appointed to cross-examine Mr. Nhlanhla Mkhwana. Mr. Nhlanhla Mkhwana is the one who's trying to bring back the dignity of this country. But Malema, he was a tool used by his comrades to collapse South Africa. And Malema, he's a corrupter. How did, even here in Islam, he was found guilty, but why the Constitution it didn't arrest him immediately?
What was he found guilty of? Just tell me, remind me.
Excuse me, sir.
What was Malema found guilty of? You said he was a corrupter.
Do you remember Malema? He was found corrupted for 60 million of farmer. What? Why? How did his case ended up? You see? Hello, Malema. After he was break away from the ANC, he was prosecuted. He was found guilty of 60 million farmer dollars. Well, how did his cases withdrawn? If you can go back, Malema, he was a tool and he was a reason why South Africa.
You made your point. I'd like to get further, confirmation about the found guilty part. But here's the point. You're saying he's a tool, so he helped. You said he's the problem. How did he help collapse the country? What did he do?
Malema, he was the one. Remember, Mosi, if you remember, during the Landuga, the externalization of Nhlanhla Mkhwana, Nhlanhla Mkhwana clarified that ANC lost everything since 2007. Around 2007 and around 2008. Yeah, but the person who was convincing South Africans to vote for Jacob Zuma and either his comrade, he was Julius Malema. And they make South Africans to follow them, and they know what they want to do. Their interest it is not to people, it's to serve themselves.
Okay, got that. You've made your point and very, very emphatic about that. Let's get to further comments on some of the biggest issues we've been covering.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, this is George here from Soweto. Ashraf, that reverend from the Human Rights Commission, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I think that commission must be closed down. It is dysfunctional. They don't know what they are talking about. There's no way that South Africa can afford to treat illegal foreigners on chronic medication. Chronic medication is lifetime. Where do you get that money from? When there's millions and millions of foreigners in this country. He doesn't know what he's talking about. George from Soweto.
Okay, George has made his point. The SAHRC must be closed down. And if so, are they dysfunctional, replaced with what?
Good afternoon, Ashraf and SA listeners here in Cape Town. Ashraf, what Netanyahu is doing, supported by the American, is actually embarrassing Israel and putting the narrative of the Jewish Holocaust in a spotlight. Because now if you look, you can see that the intention of Israeli Netanyahu is to kill all Palestinians, to destroy them, and it's so sad that Arab countries are just sitting there, no one cares. It's so sad. Very, very sad. It pained my heart. Here in Cape Town.
Okay, that is your observation. It's interesting on that. People have such strong views about that region, and it evokes a big, huge response as you've just done, right?
Mike from Newlands used to call this ANC African national criminals, and all black people were saying, no, this guy is racist. But there you are, these are real criminals, Joe.
Okay. I'm listening to your tone and just your sense of excitement about, the real criminals. These are real criminals. Let me just make the point just for now, in terms of the testimony. It is just that at this point in time, there's no conviction on this issue. I'm not saying it may not happen. The evidence is pretty damning, but it's not a conviction as yet, yeah.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It's one from Durban. It's funny how your doctor interprets our constitution, but the same constitution says anyone who's illegal in the country or does not have any documentation must be jailed and sent back home, or they cannot be given any medical treatment unless if it's a matter of life and death. But it fails to interpret that. It seems to be interpreting it in its own way, which seems to favor illegality in the country by illegal foreigners.
Okay, there we are. Well, listen, but that is an issue that some or the other South Africa's got to resolve. It can't be left to activists, just people making up their mind about how to deal with foreigners or illegal foreigners. It can't be. Here's the last one I'll play.
Good afternoon again, Ashraf. Ashraf, it's not that that guy's line was not clear from the Human Rights Commission. No, the line is so clear. He just doesn't know what he's talking about. The moment somebody is illegal in the country, and Operation Dudula should continue doing that. It's Marumoye. And that is going to go on in all provinces in the country. We are going to stop them. We cannot have that. People in the village, they don't have medication because of illegal foreigners around the country. He mustn't come and tell you about the rights of what. Man.
Okay. Let's leave it at that. I must say that issue is not going away, and therefore it needs to be addressed by government, by the GNU, by the political parties. It has to be addressed. It can't be just, this is the Constitution, it's all open season, at the same time when so many people are affected by it, which is not the same as saying rid the country of foreign nationals. You can't do that. Illegal ones, I think, yes, there's a quite a call for that, but what you can't do is remove people from hospitals and just chase them out like some sort of a witch hunt. We can't do that. But having said that, let's find a solution. Think about that. This is the National Pulse. Thanks for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow. It's Greg Host here, coming up with the news at 6.
Thank you again.